Of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today, we install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
In the heart of the Finger Lakes in upstate New York, just southwest of the town of Watkins Glen, sits one of the finest and most versatile road courses in the world, Watkins Glen International. Name a series, name a class of car, and it's probably raced at Watkins Glen. NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, IMSA, Can-Am, Trans Am, my old high school chemistry teacher Mr. Mac on a track day, all the biggest series have all met their match here in New York. Welcome to round 4 of the PRL GT series, where we'll see GT3 fixed and GT3 sprint competition live from the virtual Watkins Glen International. Hi everybody, Joey Tebbin here alongside Taylor Burst with Tyler Maxson behind the scenes. Evan Ewan O'Leary rather, is on a well-deserved holiday, and we'll see him back in a couple of weeks. But Taylor, Watkins Glen, boot layout, GT3 cars. What else do I have to say?
Excitement, high speeds, a little bit of chaos maybe when we get things started here at this circuit, but all in all, one of the most prolific racing circuits in all of North America, even I would have to say in the world when it comes to racing at this track. I mean, you have, of course, your high-speed sections, your high-speed corners, low braking zone corners, and then, of course, just some amazing hill climb style, of course, racing around this circuit. When you have the S's climbing up through the hill, the long back straightaway, the boot, of course, as we all know, racing at this circuit when it comes to sports car racing, it's going to be exciting here tonight.
It will be exciting here tonight, but let's take a look at the schedule for this GT3 Fix series. We're on round 4 of the season already. It's flying by. Hockenheim, Long Beach, Fuji all have gone by the wayside. We go to Watkins Glen tonight, and then it's a very interesting sequence of tracks after this, Taylor. It's a couple of Formula 1 tracks and one very, very narrow track at Sandown.
It is a very crazy schedule. I mean, you head up to Montreal next week. We then head over to Spa the following, and then, of course, Sandown, which is going to be, I have to say, we've seen CG racing happen at that circuit, but it's going to be even more chaotic before we round out the season in Hungaroring, Suzuka, and the Nürburgring to wrap up the season. Another great and famous schedule here for the PRL.
And let's take a look at the championship standings here in the GT3 Fix Series after 3 rounds. Of course, Danik Van Daly on top, no surprise, first, and second. But that second was critical. Last week, he was finally defeated by Adam Brockway, who only sits in third, though. He's 1 point behind Alec Bergstrom. It is quite a close battle in the top 3. Terrafino and Peterson, 2 Ferraris, 4th and 5th, and then you go further down, Benatti, Roy Brown, Andrew Ellis, Strykars, and Rodrigo Morales round out the top 10 in the driver's standings. And we'll take a look at the team standings as well here in the GT3 Fix Series. Yellow Stripe Motorsports, again, no surprise to see them up top, but Team Beef and those ever-familiar Portillo's Ferraris still in P2, close to the lead, only 38 points behind. We Race Esports is in 3rd, Advanced Sim Racing is in 4th, and then VHR Racing, Parabola Midnight, Alert, Clow Valve Racing, SOT Esport, and E3 Motorsports are the top 10 in the standings at the moment. And before we can go any further, we have to thank the people who make all of this possible. The Precision Racing League broadcasts here on RaceSpot are brought to you by VCO, of course, the virtual competition organization, helping us out here at RaceSpotTV and helping make every single Precision Racing League broadcast possible this season. Also, Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. This broadcast is also brought to you by RaceLab apps. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. We're also brought to you by the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products provide an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with the Butt Kicker. And last but not least, Ninja Trader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, Ninja Trader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. Ninja Trader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. And as with every week, we move from that ad read to tracking the performance of our drivers here in the dying minutes, the dying seconds of qualifying. About 6 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock, and surprise, surprise, nobody's on the top of the timesheets just yet, but Danik Van Daly looking pretty good in the first part of this lap.
He certainly is, as we ride on board with him as he works his way through the final corner before heading on the front straightaway. Looking pretty good, tracking quite well on the time charts as he comes across the line for his first time lap. He's going to set, waiting to see here, a 1:43.430. Absolutely flying around this circuit as more drivers start to come up to the top of the leaderboard. Alec Bergstrom moves up to P3 as we have 4 drivers in the 143 bracket.
Adam Brockway goes to P2, Fred Galini goes to B3, Alec Bergstrom right behind. It's a very familiar foursome. These are kind of the 4 drivers that have dominated the front of the field so far this season, but critically, with Fred Galini there in 3rd, he's actually lost 20 points. Before last week, he switched to that Audi. If you noticed that he was racing an Audi at Fuji last week, that is because he switched, and the penalty for switching mid-season in the Precision Racing League is 20 points. So he's switched to the Audi, but he is 20 points deeper in the hole than he wishes. But Danik Van Daly, he might have put it on pole, but he's still giving it everything, trying to improve here as we take a look at the driver in 4th place, Alec Bergstrom. So strong last week, but unfortunately just couldn't get it done. He's still 2nd in the championship, but winless across the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, not a way to kick off the season, even with the strong point standings. He wants to try to pick up a win here to get him a little bit closer to take the fight to Danik, as we see him exiting out of the boot here as he heads over towards the none other than the heel of the boot before exiting back up onto the cup layout that we'll see here momentarily. Gets a little bit over the curbing, too much right there, gathers it back up and enters into that braking zone right here of turn number 9, or turn 10 actually I should say, and very critical, watch out for the understeer during up that hill.
Bergstrom cleanly through the 3rd to last corner, now back onto the familiar last 2 corners of the track through the final corner. We'll see if Alec Bergstrom can improve from his position in 4th place. No, he doesn't even finish the lap. He's not going to improve. I think he knew that there was no time on that lap, and he elects to bring it back down pit road. More drivers driving around here through the bus stop at Watkins Glen. That's an interesting dynamic. We'll talk about that a little bit later. The bus stop and the boot, as opposed to the boot without the bus stop or the bus stop without the boot. But here we go. We ride on board through the 90. Got to be careful. Don Bowden does on the outside of turn 1 there. If you go too deep, Taylor, you can get that 1X and you can get your lap invalidated.
You certainly can, and this is an area where we're going to see a little bit of interesting scenarios happen when you're climbing up the S's, because if that area of the track gets blocked, there's no escape. You have to get on the brakes as quickly as possible. Hopefully these drivers are going to be careful on the opening lap, now entering into the bus stop, and that's something you got to be careful with as well. And you'll end up in the tire barriers over there, unfortunately for that Ferrari. But making sure you hit your braking zone in that section, you want to make sure you back up around that 2, maybe 2.5 marker to set yourself up into that corner, as we watch Brian Hoskins in his Mercedes, the Mean Guy Racing 520 machine, come up to the top of the hill through turn number 10. Putting up a great lap right now as he comes out of there.
Brian Hoskins was with us last night in the GT4 series at Mosport. Didn't get the best finish, didn't get the finish he would have been hoping for, but all the time in the world to improve on that tonight through the final corner. Hoskins in the number 520 Mercedes. His first lap of the night. What's it gonna be? Unfortunately for him, it looks like that lap didn't count, so he's going to have to go one more time around, and we'll see where Brian Hoskins can place himself on the timesheets, but nobody on the timesheets has been able to touch Danik Van Daly, 2/10 over the rest of the field at the moment.
I'm going to keep an eye on the YS Motorsports machine Ferrari of Eric Dube in the 887, as where we see Danik Van Daly work his way through the back half of the course. As he comes out of the bus stop and now works through the carousel, he's on a little bit of a good lap right here as well. See if he's going to try to improve on his lap time. In fact, in practice, watching over his times, he's one of only 2 drivers to break into the 142 bracket.
He's got about half a second if he wants to break down into the 142s in qualifying here. He's got no help, no draft. The draft, we'll talk about that in the future, I'm sure, as well. That was the defining part of the GT4 race here a couple weeks ago. We had a breakaway with Sean Campbell, Owen Watts, and I believe Brian Vorse or one of the others. Michael Diaz, that's who it was. They just streaked away from the field. They were battling back and forth for the entire race, and we'll see if we see a similar draft dynamic here. But Danik Van Daly, evidently not satisfied with his lap time. He thinks he can go a little bit quicker and get a little bit bigger of margin for the pole here through the final 2 corners. Everything looks set up. Everything looks perfect. His laps have always looked good, but when you've done such a good lap, it's always difficult to improve. To the line, here comes Danik. He was slow across the line. I don't think that lap was going to count anyway.
No, it was not here, as we see the 75 machine go a little bit wide through there. That's going to cost him some valuable time. That's Ryan Chandler. Here now on screen is the 27 machine of Andre Boniti in the We Race Esports. Currently sits P8 in the time charts. Tracking a little off compared to his previous fastest lap time, but we'll see if he can improve on it as he comes up to the toe of the boot.
Bergstrom, you saw on the side of your screen, just jumped Galini. He'll start on the inside of row number 2 instead of the outside, but we do ride on board here. The final couple of corners of the boot. I don't know about you, Taylor, but this corner coming up right here, the heel of the boot, is always the most difficult corner at this track to me. Seems like he took it pretty carefully, pretty safely, and he carried pretty good speed through there, but this is just such a difficult part of the track, and it's so difficult to nail.
It certainly is, because you're going down the hill, and also you're trying to think you can carry a little bit more speed in there than you actually should have. It's better to take that slow in, fast out approach for turn number 9. And then, of course, you come out of turn 12, the final corner. You got to watch out for that wall right there as you come across the start-finish line. Let's see if he picks up his time. Nope, he's going to slow it down right there.
Andre Bonatti will start in P8, but not many changes at the end of the session. It seemed like those first laps were the fastest you could go for. But let's take a look at the grid here. 21 laps, or 35 minutes here at Watkins Glen for the GT3 Fixed Series. On pole, it will be Danik Van Daly. No surprise there. I believe that's the 4th time this season he has started on pole in 4 races, but Adam Brockway, the driver who defeated him last week, will start alongside, and then Alec Bergstrom and Fred Gallini make up row 4. Michael Terrafino, ever so consistent, starts P5, and Brendan Victil, a solid qualifying performance for him, in P6. Down in P7, Eric Dubé and Andre Bonatti unable to improve at the end of the session. Hugo Caputo and Sean Carmody round out the top 10. Baron Glover and Andrew Ellis will be 11th and 12th. And then unlucky 13th, Philip Magnan, Baron Hilton, Dale Peterson, Roy Brown, Sean Duhamel, Kyle Strykars round out the top 18, but the list keeps on coming. Don Bowden, Mark Feil, Dave Peterson, Jean-Francois Champagne, Blake Ziti, Patrick Cowgill are the top 24. 6 more drivers coming up here. Regan Chandler, Brian Hoskins didn't get a good lap in at the end. Dan Fendick, Ryan Chandler, Donald Olson, and Matthew Gagnon, I believe, were the last few drivers to actually set qualifying laps. Guillaume Huard, David Boucher, Steve Bammer, and Ryan Luna round out a 34-car field here at Watkins Glen tonight, Taylor.
It's going to be exciting, and it's great to see a mixed variety of different GT3 cars. Of course, we see the brand new Mercedes-AMG GT3 car out on the track. Several drivers in this race, as well as the last race, or the sprint race happening later tonight, switched over to the brand new Mercedes. Of course, the BMW, Audi, Porsche, and Lamborghini also out there on the circuit. As it's just going to be an exciting time, and it's always fun to watch GT racing here at Watkins Glen.
And we will see GT3 racing at Watkins Glen after a very long pace lap. It's the full pace lap here at Watkins Glen, Taylor. And it's a very, very long and a very, very slow pace lap. What's the mindset like of these drivers? They're all ready to go, but they've just got to sit there and wait for about 4 minutes.
Take your time, set your thoughts, set up of how you want to approach turn number 1. For our leaders, it's best to try to go at it full swing to get as much ground covered ahead of your competitors. For those mid-pack, maybe taking it a little bit easy, watching out for capitalizing on the mistakes of others. And if you're in the back half of the course, well, just making sure that you're able to survive turn 1 when chaos ensues at the start will be critical just as much.
So if you are Adam Brockway, you're starting alongside Danik Van Daly, you know he is a competitor that is very difficult to beat. Do you go for the move immediately in turn 1, or do you hang back a little bit and try and use the draft into the bus stop on lap 1?
It depends on how confident you feel about entering into turn 1, because you know for a fact, like you just said, even though you may be able to back it off in turn 1 or pass him in turn 1, then of course he has that advantage heading down the back straightaway, heading into the bus stop where he could pass you back. So it's just a matter of how well you feel confident with your car. And of course, these are 2 totally different styles of cars that these 2 competitors are running. Danik, of course, running in the Mercedes, and of course Adam running in the BMW. So it's just going to be interesting to see how the 2 cars match up against each other when it comes to top end speed.
Bit of housekeeping from last week before we go green here. The penalty reports from last week. Ryan Luna was determined to have impeded another driver while recovering from an incident. He was docked 5 points in the championship. And poor old Donald Olson, minor incident, he was determined to have been at fault, and he has lost 15 points in the Drivers' Championship. But both of them on the grid here tonight, looking to recover and make up some of those lost points. Of course, Fred Gallini also 2 weeks ago lost 20 points for undergoing a mid-season car change that docks you 20 points. He elected to switch to the Audi and worked out pretty well for him last week at Fuji. He was pretty racy, but It's a Mercedes up front. It's the ever-present Mercedes of Danik Van Daly. Alongside him is Adam Brockway in the BMW. And we will go green here in a matter of moments. Mercedes, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, Ferrari, Mercedes. There's so many manufacturers in this field, and evidently they've all found some of the same speed, as they're pretty equal in the top 6. But the iRacing Porsche pace car navigates through the final corner at Watkins Glen. It's going to pull down pit road. The ever-long pace lap has finally come to an end, and Danik Van Daly takes the green flag at Watkins Glen.
Great jump by Eric Van Daly, or Danik Van Daly.
Oh, Victil!
Ooh, Victil heads off track.
Victil got punted from the back, and that promising qualifying position is best of the season, if I remember correctly. It's all come to an end, and there's disaster. Disaster at the top of the S's. There's a pile up back there. We'll have to take a look who that was. Oh dear, Kyle Stryker is pointing in the wrong direction. Lots of trouble. I believe that was Dale Peterson, who we've got to change for the lead. There's action all over the track. Brockway on the attack, but he's not able to make the move.
How about a big run right there by Alec Bergstorm as well through the carousel. He was able to make up a ton of time on Adam Brockway as they come out of the carousel and enter into the boot for the first time.
Brockway was on the attack, but he couldn't quite get the move done around the outside, and look at the gap Danik Van Daly's already pulled. It's only a couple tenths of a second, but that is a rather large gap for lap 1. Through the corners of the boot for the first time. That's Michael Terrafino all over the back of Fred Gallini for the last spot in the top 5. But you can see as we scroll through the timing sheets, drivers who were involved in that incident will attempt to see a replay later, but strike cars, Peterson, Donald Olson, Steve Bammer. First, let's take a look at what happened to Brendan Victil. And yeah, he just got hit up the back.
Severe damage to that Mercedes as we now take a look and see what happens out of turn number 1 out of the 90, and looks like the BMW and the Ferrari, that's the number 2 machine, I believe, who just ends up turning one of the Ferraris around, and then chaos ensues with a pile-up right there out of turn 1.
Normally you think starting at the back is the safe place to be, but unfortunately looks like starting at the back was just a little bit of extra bad luck as the drivers pile in. Blake Zedes brought it down pit road as well, but we're still side-by-side action here into turn 1. Andrew Ellis in the number 17, Philippe Magnan behind in the 431. Hugo Caputo, his teammate in the Mercedes, gets to the inside. The 2 ASR Esports teammates side-by-side up the hill. Who's got the better straight line speed, the Mercedes or the Porsche? We know for a fact from some of the drivers that it is absolutely the Mercedes.
It certainly is. This new Mercedes is absolutely a pounding, heart-stopping moment car here added onto the service, and it's been about time that we get this new updated GT3 car, and it has proved that it's showcased the power it needs to dominate the GT3 fields.
Patrick Cowgill, Ryan Chandler, David Boucher have also brought it down pit road with damage. It's just a calamitous first lap for some of the drivers at the back, but some of the drivers who started a little bit further down than they would have liked are on a recovery drive. Let's watch Mark Feil here, chasing down Don Bowden in the Ferrari and Roy Brown in another Ferrari. We're used to seeing Roy Brown fighting in the top 10, the top 5, and he is quite a bit further down than we're used to seeing him.
Currently running in that 14th position in the 313 machine as we see him trying to work his way up. And Roy Brown, of course, is really trying to find his way back up into the top 10, but has a little bit of work to do as he's about half a second back from Philippe Magnan, who is sitting in 13th right now.
Philippe Magnan, Sean Duhamel on the attack. Philippe trying to move his way forward. His teammate Hugo Caputo is just charging forward. Look at the gap he's pulled. Philippe still stuck behind Sean Duhamel, though, down into turn 1. Philippe attempts to use a little bit of the draft, but it seems like there's just nothing there for the Porsche. That Ferrari, it's no Mercedes, but it seems pretty handy in a straight line, too.
Certainly does seem to be handling quite well as we watch Sean Duhamel work his way up to the top of the S's and having a great run with that Ferrari. Here comes the slipstream, though, into effect for Philippe as he gets the run down the back straightaway heading into the bus stop. You're right on board now with Andrew Ellis and another one of those powerful Porsches.
Attempted to go to the inside, then the outside of Baron Glover, but couldn't find a gap.
Oof.
Andrew Ellis stays in that final spot in the top 10. Magnan and Brown. Oh, Magnan's very, very wide through the carousel. I wonder, was there a little bit of argy-bargy there? Or did Magnan just get out of shape? He lets Don Bowden back by. Things are falling apart a little bit here for Philippe.
Yeah, Philippe did get loose entering into the carousel, almost lost it coming through there, but was able to gather it back up and lost that spot to Don Bowden.
Now Philippe on the recovery drive. How difficult is it? If you're Philippe Magnan, you've had a bad start to the race. It's all falling apart. You've almost spun the car as we take a look at the replay here. Here's what happened to Philippe. Just super loose. It's a good save, but he's got to be feeling pretty frustrated in the car right now.
He certainly does, as he will have to try to find his way.
Oh, Baron Glover. Sorry,
Glover.
Taylor. Baron Glover has absolutely thrown away the top 10. He's pointing the wrong direction in the final corner of the boot. Has he recovered? No, he hasn't, but I think there might have been a little bit of contact with Andrew Ellis. Yep, Ellis just dumps him.
I'm pretty sure race officials are going to be looking at that situation here as we see them work their way around Mark File in his 77 BMW. Don Bowden moves up a position as File will now work his way up a spot as well, getting around Philippe.
Honestly, I wonder, does Philippe Magnan have damage on that car or something? I don't see any of it on the front end. I don't believe he was involved in anything on lap 1, but he is just falling and falling and falling, and it doesn't seem like he has any straight line speed either. It has not been the start that Philippe Magnan wants, but Mark File, how fast is that BMW in a straight line as he chases down Don Bowden? Through the bus stop, no changes, but we've got a 3-car train here for P13.
Right on board with Mark File right now in that 77 BMW as he tries to enter into the boot, looking for his way around the prancing horse of the Ferrari. It's there you see Bowden get a little bit loose entering into the boot, gathers it back up, and as they now approach over towards the toe of the boot, a little bit of a wider arc compared to what we see File doing, who prefers to hug that inside groove all the way through and then track it out. This gives a little bit of room now for Don Bowden, but here comes Philippe now with a head of steam.
These guys are trying to chase down Roy Brown, Caputo, Duhamel, and Ellis, the train for the final spots in the top 10, but Don Bowden almost throws it off the road again through the heel of the boot. Keeps it on the track just barely. Let's take a look at a replay. I believe this is Brendan Victil on his recovery drive through the field. Oh, dear.
And gone is that recovery drive.
Gone is that recovery drive, and absolutely dead is that Ferrari. I didn't see who that was. I think that might have been Matthew Gagnon.
Well, here's Fred Galoni right here, who's having some trouble.
Fred Galini, he was having a solid race, P4, but he loses it through the second to last quarter, noses it in the tires, and that is a destroyed Audi. It is proving to be extremely difficult to drive a GT3 car around Watkins Glen tonight, and honestly, I did not expect this amount of trouble for these drivers, especially the ones in the top 10.
Yeah, Fred Galini now has dropped outside the top 10 in 15th position in his number 2 Audi, trying to see if he can catch up to Philippe Magnan, as he's now having to hold off Jean-Francois Champagne, who is right behind him in 16th position.
Galini's going to have heavy nose damage on that Audi. We'll see if he's able to get by Philippe Magnan, who's also been struggling with some sort of speed issue. Down into... Oh, and again, another spin. Mark File loses the rear. He saves it. Almost clouts into Fred Galini. But something has gone very, very wrong at this track. It seems almost impossible to drive some of these GT3 cars. I wonder... I have to take a look at the track temperature, but... something is proving to be very, very difficult, Taylor. It's 109 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hot, but it's not the hottest I've ever seen. What's going on here?
I have no clue, Joey, but I can tell you one thing. Some of these drivers are really pushing their tires to the absolute limit, and they got to be so careful with that. As here we see a battle for position. This is, I believe, going to be Roy Brown as well as Sean Dumal, who are battling for that 10th position. Throw in also Hugo Caputo, who's holding on to 9th, but he's stretched out a little bit in his Mercedes.
Remember a couple laps ago, Roy Brown was in 14th? He has truly picked up the pieces, and he's only got one car ahead of him to get back in the top 10. Brown has just been the epitome of consistency in these first 3 rounds, and he's got a top 10 right ahead of him, up through the S's. Roy Brown in that red and white striped car, Sean Duhamel in that famous now livery, blue, red, and white. And they're both chasing down Hugo Caputo, who's continuing to move his way up through the field, through the bus stop. No attempt at a move just yet, but they're still all over each other. And we see a lot of these three-car trains. As further back, Philippe Magnan, I think, has just done the 2-for-1 special. He's gotten by both Bowden and Galini in the background.
Yeah, he picks them up, one of them up through the draft. As we see that happening, he'll get around Don Bowden, and as we watch on this battle for ninth, they're starting to catch up to the 17 of Andrew Ellis and Sean Carmody, who's now holding on to 7th position. So this could become a 5-car train here before this is all said and done.
Up front, Adam Brockway has also been making some headway. He's brought that gap down below 1 second. It was as big as 1.5 seconds earlier, but he's chasing Danik Van Daly down, and I think in a couple more tenths time, if he gets a couple tenths closer, he's going to be in draft range, Taylor, and that could be critical.
It can be very critical indeed. As we watch here, your top 3 come across the line, all separated by about 1 to 2 seconds, about 2 seconds pretty much overall for these 3 competitors. Alex Bergstrom holds strong in 3rd position as they come out of the 90 and make the climb up the S's.
The gap's expanded just a little bit. It's very similar to what we saw in the GT4 race a couple weeks ago. There's some drivers, there's some cars that are so strong through some parts of these tracks, and then through turn 1, down this long back straight, the other car just cannot seem to do anything. It seems like Adam Brockway had quite a good run there down the back straight. We know the Mercedes is very powerful. We know it's the preferred car in a straight line, but clearly that Adam Brockway BMW is doing something right because he closed up to the back of him. But we got side-by-side here into the bus stop, Sean Duhamel and Roy Brown. Duhamel lets Brown go. I think he thinks better of going side-by-side through the bus stop with 23 minutes to go. And Roy Brown yet again in the top 10. And Sean Duhamel falls to 11th as we got side-by-side Andrew Ellis and Sean Carmody. Ellis has made contact with another driver in the boot earlier today, but he's still side-by-side with Sean. On the outside, Sean fights back. The outside becomes the inside through the toe, and Carmody makes contact this time. Ellis goes around. Carmody goes around. Oh, dear.
Ooh, trouble for, I believe,
Roy Brown.
Roy Brown with some heavy damage to the nose of that Ferrari.
Roy Brown was having such a good recovery drive, and it's all fallen apart as well. That car's destroyed. He parks it. Roy Brown is going to bring it down pit lane with heavy damage. It all fell apart in the toe of the boot. We'll check out a replay of that when we can, but up front, nothing going wrong up here. They've got that distance. Danik Van Daly has about a 1 second gap over Adam Brockway, blinks for just a second, but he comes back. Now it's 1.3 seconds as they go through turn 1, and it was a terrible run by Brockway as well. But Taylor, talk us through what happened here.
Yeah, side by side as they enter into the toe of the boot, and it looks like Carmody just got a little bit too wide through that corner, and then unfortunately for one of our favorite drivers that we have been watching, Roy Brown, just had nowhere to go. But you got to be careful with that washing up the track when you're coming through the toe of the boot, because that's exactly what's going to happen.
Proving to be a race of attrition so far. Philippe Magnan has found himself back in the top 10. Fred Galini, who absolutely mowed down the wall in the second to last corner, has made his way back into the top 10. And Sean Carmody, after looping it around, look at this. This is the battle between all 3 of those drivers. Philippe Magnan wants another move. He gets to the inside of Carmody. They're side by side through the bus stop, but there goes Philippe Magnan up into P8. And Sean Carmody, you have to think there's a little bit of damage on that car, as now he has to hold back his fellow damaged Audi of Fred Galini. This is where it all fell apart in the last lap, but luckily, looks like Galini isn't going to be close enough to go side by side through the boot.
You got Don Bowden right there behind him as well in 11th position. So these 4 cars jockeying for position as they come out through the toe of the boot, down the short chute heading into the heel. And looks Philippe will have a little bit of breathing room now as they enter into the heel and exit back onto the main circuit.
This is the biggest train we've seen for the entirety of this race, the first 15 minutes of this race. Magnan, and then it goes basically all the way back to Jean-Francois Champagne and then Barron Glover as well, who looped it. Oh, and speaking of looping it around, the same place where Baron Glover did, Don Bowden is the next victim. Loops the VHR Racing Ferrari around into the inside wall after the final quarter of the boot. Who's going to be the next one? Who else can keep it on the track? Andrew Ellis brings it down pit lane in the background. It's all kicking off now with 20 minutes to go.
20 minutes to go. We're approaching the halfway point of tonight's race as Galini tries to find an opening to get around Carmody. As we see the replay of Bowden just loops it around and everyone else avoids contact as Galini picks up a spot.
Galini through on Carmody, but it's not over yet. Sean is going to fight back. Does he have the straight line speed, though? It doesn't look like he does. Somehow, Fred Galini, with huge nose damage, still has that straight line speed advantage. Galini will hang on to P9. Remember, he qualified P4. He's got a lot more speed in this car than P9, but he's got a lot of work to do to continue to make up ground. Philippe Magnon's next on this list, and then you have to go about 5 seconds ahead of Philippe to his teammate, Hugo Caputo, who will be next on Fred's list. But first, he's got to get by Philippe Magnon.
Philippe Magnon has definitely had the drive of the race so far, being cautious when incidents arise in front of him, as well as also making extraordinary passes since the drop of the green flag, as he is one of our biggest movers, I'd have to say. But of course, another one who's also been on the move is Sean Dumal and Mark File, who are inside the top 15 after starting outside the top 15.
Oh. Magnon in the grass, way too far to the exit of the heel of the boot. Almost all over the place. He does recover, but that has given Galini a very, very kind gift. He's brought the gap down to about half a second, and Galini wants P8 here. Magnon maybe feeling the pressure a little bit through the final corner. Galini's hungry with that askew rear wing. I don't think he'll be close enough to make the move into turn one, but watch out, Philippe Magnon. Fred Galini's on a mission.
That terrifying Audi is definitely on a mission as they come out of the 90, making the climb up the S's. He'll show his nose, not able to make anything happen this time around as you ride on board with Galini. Gets a great drive through the S's, is able to get right to the back bumper of that Porsche as he'll utilize the slipstream and pull out to the inside, side by side, battle for position down the back straightaway. Who's going to break first into the bus stop? It's going to be almost contact, but Galini sends it on in and picks up another spot.
Fred Galini up into P8, and now Magnon's got to keep it together. Sean Carmody wants to pick up the pieces. He wants to make up for the lack of speed Magnon has here. Does he send it to the inside into turn 6? No, he does not. He sticks back for the moment, but Magnon was having such a promising recovery drive. He's got to be careful not to throw it away.
He certainly does have to be careful as they climb up through the toe of the boot, exit out, and Carmody will not be able to get around Magnon this time around as they head down the hill, heading into the heel. He'll try to show his nose, but nothing of viewing happened yet. Gonna just keep right there all on the back bumper of that Porsche as they climb up the hill, heading into turn number 10.
17 minutes and 30 seconds have gone by. 17 minutes and 30 seconds to go, Taylor. We've reached the halfway point, but the question is, when do drivers bring it down pit road? Everybody will have to bring it down pit road. There's not going to be any Long Beach fuel strategy here, and speak of the devil, Philippe Magnon is going to be the first taker. His teammate Hugo Caputo as well. So the ASR guys, they clearly think it's time to pit, but how long can these guys wait?
It's going to be probably happening around this time here. We'll see our race leaders make their way to their pit spots here momentarily as we watch on some of these drivers working their way through the carousel. That's Alec Bergstorm right there, trying to catch up to Adam Brockway as they work their way through some lap traffic just in behind them a few moments ago.
Bergstrom and Brockway, teammates, but no car similarity there. One is in a BMW. Adam Brockway is in the leading BMW, and he's followed by Bergstrom in the Mercedes. Both of them still trying to chase down that Mercedes of Danik Van Daly. Brockway's lost touch with him just a little bit, and that makes me wonder, can Brockway make up that 1.3 second gap in the pits? We've seen bigger gaps be made up in the pits. We've seen bigger gaps be made in the pits. And I think Adam Brockway is going to be hoping and praying that that happens to him as well. Let's see. As Van Daly, the top three all pull through the final couple of corners of the track. Is this when they finally elect to bring it down pit road? 16 minutes to go. Clock continues to tick down. Danik Van Daly's not going for it. Neither is Brockway, and neither is Bergstrom. Nope, never mind. There goes Bergstrom.
Bergstrom going to try to see if he can get his way through. Now it's Michael Trefino who's coming out next. He's going to stay out along with Eric and Andrea Boniti. Fred Galini comes out. He's working his way through some lap traffic coming through turns 11. Will he come down pit road? We'll find out as we watch Brockway trying to find any which way to catch up to his rival, Danik Van Daly.
Danik has just been so quick on the last couple laps. Last lap for Danik Van Daly, 144.3. Last lap for Adam Brockway, 144.6. There's just been a clear difference. And Brockway, that's not going to help. He throws it through the grass on the in the entry to the bus stop. Lost a little bit of ground there. He's got to start thinking pit strategy, I think, because it doesn't appear like he has the speed to make this move on the track, but the race rages on and anything can happen. It's been a race of mistakes. It's been a race of attrition, and you can never count anybody out from joining that list.
No, you certainly cannot count anybody out from competition here, especially amongst these three competitors, as we now see Bergstrom rejoin the circuit. He is now breaking into the top 10 in 9th, and he's got a little bit of work to do, but now the question is going to be, when will we see the rest of the field come down pit road?
Bergstrom gets by the heavily damaged Ferrari of Dave Peterson. Question will be the pit delta. It looks like Alec Bergstrom spent about 41.6 seconds in the pit lane. He's got 37 seconds up to Danik Van Daly, so you would think he would have a pretty solid gap into the lead of this race, but of course we have to remember that that pit lane time is not all stationary. There is some rolling time, so we calculate that out a little bit. I don't know what the gap is going to be for the lead, but I did just notice the gap has been decimated for the lead. Danik Van Daly is now only half a second ahead of Adam Brockway, and why is that? That's because they've both brought it down pit road. The slower speeds make for a smaller gap here. It was a good pit entry for Adam Brockway, but now this is critical. This is the critical moment of the race. How much fuel do you put in the car? How long do you sit in your pit stall? And is this when Adam Brockway finally jumps Danik?
We're going to find out here as we watch the race for pit road, as we watch Alex Bergstrom also come his way up through the field, and he will come out possibly as the new race leader, as we see your race leaders now exiting out of pit road. Bergstrom comes out of turn 1. It's going to be a race to see who can get up to speed the quickest, and here comes Brockway with a head of steam, and of course Bergstrom with fresh tires on up to temperature compared to the other two. This is going to get exciting down the backstretch.
Everything is in the same order it was before the pit stops, but look how close Adam Brockway is. That 1.5 second gap is gone, and Brockway knows he has to make the move. He has to make it when he has the opportunity. He peeks to the outside, but he's not close enough, not able to make the move on Danik Van Daly. But he's got 12 more minutes to make this move. He's closer than he's ever been. And now, can Adam Brockway stick with Danik Van Daly, and can he do the most difficult possible thing and actually make the move on him for the lead?
It's going to be close as we watch these three work their way through, as this is, of course, the battle for the race lead as soon as Sean Carmody comes down pit road, which he has yet to do. And as they come out of the toe of the boot, they'll make the short shoot run downhill to the heel as we watch them negotiate through lap traffic as well.
Lap traffic ahead, that is the 25th place runner, David Boucher. Danik Van Daly very wide there through the final corner of the boot. Adam Brockway's trying to chase him down. Lap traffic will have to get out of the way. Boucher is a lap down. I think he will get out of the way. He's 4 laps down, actually, so that's even more incentive to get out of the way, but he's not done it yet. He's trying to find a good place to get out, and there he goes. David Boucher brings it down pit road. Danik Van Daly now has a slightly more clean track ahead, as Sean Carmody, who did get to lead a lap, does bring it down pit road. Finally, he will likely fall to the latter half of the top 10, or outside the top 10 if anything. Bergstrom gets out of shape in the background, but it's try number 2 for Adam Brockway.
He wasn't as close as he was last time around, so the draft is not going to come into play as much as what we saw last time as they come down the back straightaway. And of course, we see Danik have a little bit of help from some of the lap cars as well as they enter into the bus stop side, nose to tail. And as they work their way through, Danik will look to the inside of one of the Porsches who gives way. Great try for some of these lap cars to let out of the way, not get involved with the battle for the race to lead.
Kyle Strykars, of course, we saw have that big trouble on lap 1. He gets out of the way. Next up, that's Ryan Luna in the pastel yellow BMW. Again, very nice, very respectful. Ryan Luna gets out of the way for everybody. Bergstrom finally gets through him. Brockway is very, very close. He is sticking to the back of Danik Van Daly here. He's not letting him get away. And this is what we like to see. Sometimes after the pit cycles in these races, the leader, especially when it's Danik Van Daly, tends to just streak away a little bit, build a little gap, but that is not the case here. Adam Brockway has him at arm's length, or at car's length rather, and he is on the attack. Can he stick with him coming through the final couple of corners, and can he have a shot down the back straight? It seems like that BMW's got more legs than we thought in a straight line, but he's got to stick with Danik Van Daly to actually make use of that.
He certainly does as they come out of the final corner across the line. 10 minutes left to go on the clock. It's going to be a fight to the finish.
Down into turn 1. Danik Van Daly leads this battle, but it's very even, entirely even between the two drivers. The gap stays exactly where it was before turn 1, and unfortunately, I think that might just be a little bit too big for Adam Brockway. Half a second, down to 0.4 of a second. It ticks down to 0.3 of a second. May even get as low as 0.2 of a second once they get into the bus stop. But Taylor, how close do you think he's going to have to be exiting turn 1 if he wants to actually make this move?
He's got to be a lot closer than that as they work through the bus stop as we watch a replay for Carmody. Ooh.
That is a huge clunk.
A big clunk indeed for that Audi as we watch on. Your top two still battling for position as they work their way through, entering into the boot. Carmody, of course, going to be done for the day after that hard contact.
Well, I wouldn't be so hasty. Sean Carmody is still in P11 somehow. Those Audis must have incredibly strong noses. We saw Fred Galini nose it into the wall. He was fine. Now we see Carmody nose it into the wall. He was fine. Eric Dubé, probably the save of the race there through the bus stop. That was incredible. But those Audis just incredibly strong, and it's been an incredible recovery for Fred Galini, who's up into 7th, but the battle for the lead rages on. It's try number 3 or 4 after the pit cycle. Adam Brockway just experiencing a little bit of deja vu here. Every lap, it's just the same gap. He's doing the same things, and I don't know what else he can do to catch up to the back of Danik Van Daly here. Down the front straight again. 8 minutes to go. My calculations are correct. That'll be about 5 laps to go. So only 5 more chances for Adam Brockway to make this move. And he's just a little bit too far back again.
Bergstrom gets a little bit loose while coming off corner exit of turn number 1, gathers it back up, but loses a ton of time right there. He was actually faster than your top 2 last time by, but just not close enough to really make any major gains on your top 2 as we work down the back straightaway. Brockway trying to find his run that he needs, but not able to make anything happen through the bus stop. Danik just is able to carry so much momentum and speed through there compared to anybody else. He's just able to make it stick and pull away.
Looks like every time Brockway's just 0.2 short. He's got to find a way. How can I find those 0.2? How can I get 0.2 closer to the back of my rival here? Because if I don't find that, I'm not winning this race. But Adam Brockway, he is a winner in this series. He took his first PRL win ever last week. He beat Danik Van Daly, and he's trying to do it again. There is that critical gap, 0.2 of a second. Down one of our shorter straights, coming to the heel of the boot. He peaks. He says, Danik, I'm here. But he's not able to get by him yet, but he is certainly putting the pressure on. That is incredible stuff by Adam Brockway. Through turn 9, up over the hill. He's closer, Taylor. He's closer.
He is closing in quickly through these final few corners, and this is probably the closest he's been on the back half of the course. So we'll really get to see how much he can gain when going through this next line by as he comes across the line. 6.5 minutes to go. 4 laps when they come across the line.
Remember, on the previous laps, he's been about 0.2 short, and he's gone through turn 1, half a second to 0.6 behind Danik Van Daly. This time, he's only 0.4 behind him. Has he found the mythical 0.2? Has he gotten close enough to go for the move here into the bus stop, down the back straight, up through the S's. Now it straightens out. Brockway puts the BMW in the draft of the Mercedes. He's got the run, but will he be close enough to go around the outside? He peeks to the outside, but he's not close enough to get alongside, not close enough to make the move yet. But he is proving to Danik Van Daly that he has the pace, he has the ability, and he's not going anywhere.
Well, you saw how Danik was able to be very defensive on the back straightaway because he knew how quickly Adam was moving up the field and catching up to him. He decided to take that defensive line and be able to not allow him to pass on the inside. He had to take the long way around, and it worked to his advantage now as Danik still holds on to about 0.3 of a second, a lap car ahead of these competitors who will hopefully give way momentarily as they work down the hill into the heel.
Lap cars have generally been very nice tonight, and I can't imagine the number 333 will do any. Oh, but he loses it! He loses it in front of Adam Brockway. The lap car loses it in front of Brockway. That's nothing but embarrassing from his perspective, unfortunately, and that has killed Brockway's race-winning challenge. Danik Van Daly says thank you very much. Alec Bergstrom's going to say thank you very much for that second place. But that is the worst possible thing that can happen when you're a lapped car.
I think that's probably one of the most worst commentator's curse we've ever seen in RaceSpot history right here.
I cannot believe that happened.
I cannot either, but that's motor racing for you, and especially in the virtual world for Brockway, though. What's he going to do? Is he going to allow Bergstrom to buy? We're going to take a look at the replay here. As
Guillaume Huard just loses it, and if it just went a little bit differently, I think he could have avoided Brockway, but just an absolute disaster, and I take full responsibility. That was the commentator's curse of the century, and now Brockway has to let Bergstrom go. The BMW that was once a titan in a straight line is just horrifically damaged. It doesn't have the mythical front nose of the Audi that... Oh god, I said front nose. I shouldn't have said that, but anyway... Brockway falls to third, Bergstrom up to second, 3 seconds up to Danik Van Daly. Looks like it's going to be a pretty easy win from here.
Yeah, that's a bonnet, I would have to say, Joey, not a nose.
Well, it's not a front nose, it's just there's no rear nose.
No, there is no rear nose.
If the Audi did have a rear nose, though, something tells me it wouldn't be getting damaged either. That thing is just incredibly built.
I'm pretty sure it would find a way.
Oh, it would find a way. But Brockway is actually fighting back here through the corners. Unfortunately, he's lost the straight line speed, but he hasn't lost the cornering speed. He's blinking out just a little bit. His internet is probably just as frustrated with him as he is with Guillaume Huard, but Danik Van Daly gonna cross the line here to make it 2 laps to go, and they're probably gonna be 2 of the easiest laps of his life. He's been gifted a 3-second lead now, and that lead is only growing as he streaks away from Alec Bergstrom. Crosses the line, 2 laps to go. If you're Danik Van Daly here, you've seen that so many drivers have made mistakes. They've made clumsy errors. If you're in the lead here, are you hyper-focused on your driving right now to make sure you don't make those mistakes, or are you trying to take it easy and just drive home?
Both. That's all I can say. You are going to take it easy when you're by yourself, no competition, make no mistakes, but when you start getting around other competitors, that's when you need to be hyper-focused even more so in order to not watch out for any mistakes other drivers make, as well as watch out to make sure you don't make any mistakes.
Taking it easy through the bus stop, but for Danik Van Daly, taking it easy is still pretty darn quick. He actually built a little bit more of a gap to Alec Bergstrom through the bus stop that time. Down through the heel of the boot. It's just going to be such a straightforward win for him. Looks like the closest battle on track right now is a little bit further back. P9, Mark Feil, and Sean Duhamel are the closest fighters on track right now. And actually ahead of them, Eric Dubé and Fred Gallini have quite a battle raging on right now, but it's not the battle for the lead. The battle for the lead has been taken from us, but the battle for second is not done yet. Brockway still trying to fight back. I think he might be a sitting duck on the straights, but if he can get by his teammate in one of these corners, he might have a shot to keep second.
He's going to try his best, but I think he needs to try to help Alex Bergstrom and utilize the draft to try and catch up to Danik. That could be a big help, but the problem is there's not enough time left on the clock here as we're now approaching 1 minute left to go. This should be, of course, the last lap here momentarily.
White flag, Watkins Glen, Danik Van Daly going for another thing that starts with W. Here is the battle for P6. Eric Dubé, we saw him have that incredible save at the bus stop, and Fred Gallini, the hard-nosed Audi, right behind him. 2 damaged cars, but 2 recovery drives. Both of them are going to end in the top 7 unless they come to blows here. These two take the white flag as well. Can Fred Gallini take P6? That would be remarkable if he only loses 2 spots from his starting position. He peaks to the inside. The Audi clearly the less damaged of the 2. Clearly the faster in a straight line. And Gallini gets by him like he isn't even there. Gallini up to P6.
Move him up to P6. We'll see how he's able to continue on as we see Eric Dubé now trying to fight his way through the S's. Gets right to the back bumper of that Audi R8 as they come out of the S's down the back straightaway. Looks to the inside, shows his nose a little bit. The prancing horse really trying to fire him up as they head down into the bus stop.
Gallini the optimal line, and Gallini stays ahead just that much faster in a straight line. We saw him out-qualify Eric Dubé. I think he's got the advantage through the bus stop and the boot as well. But up front, Danik Van Daly navigating through the final couple of corners. It's going to be a far easier win than he initially thought, but it's going to be yet another win for the driver of the number 11 through the final 2 corners. Danik Van Daly, he won round 1, he won round 2, he finished second in round 3, and at round 4 in Watkins Glen, Danik Van Daly wins for the 3rd time in 4 races, and his dominant championship run continues. Alec Bergstrom brings it home in P2, and Adam Brockway is going to have some very choice words for Guillaume Huard. He brings it home in 3rd. Michael Terrafino, a very anonymous but a very strong drive in P5, and Andre Benatti brings it home in the last spot in the top 5. The battles rage on. Mark Feil, Sean Duhamel, last 2 spots in the top 10. Doesn't look like they're going to change.
No, it looks like it's going to stay as it is as Feil leads his way in the BMW ahead of the Ferrari as they come out of the final corner. And Mark Feil, yes, he will be able to hold on to the race lead. Or that, not race lead, the 9th position.
He wishes it was the race lead.
He sure
Dan
does.
Dan Fendick here in P19 trying to chase down Hugo Caputo. I don't think we mentioned what happened to Hugo Caputo. He was having a great run. He was in the top 10, and it all fell apart. He's going to finish P18 after spending 1 minute and 24 seconds in the pit lane. So he must have gotten a speeding penalty. That's disastrous for Hugo Caputo. Promising run comes home in 8th place, and the rest of the field continues to cycle through. Looks like we got a couple more guys on the track. Donald Olson in the background. He'll be the last car on the lead lap.
And Donald Olson will come across the line, I believe, here momentarily, as he comes across the start-finish line in his Mercedes in the 20th position.
Wow. I don't know what to say, Taylor. That is, I might have cursed it, but it happened. It still happened. Danik Van Daly wins. Adam Brockway going to be so disappointed with 3rd behind his teammates. Still a good day for the Yellow Stripe Motorsports team in 2nd and 3rd, but they were so much hoping for that win. And Michael Terrafino, another good result for the ever so consistent Team Beef. Andre Benatti, last car in the top 5. Fred Gallini, Eric Dubé, Philippe Magnan recovered to P8. Mark Feil and Sean Duhamel round out the top 10. Then back in P11, Andrew Ellis got into a little bit of trouble, as did Baron Glover. Baron Hilton kept his nose clean, brings it home P13. Sean Carmody damaged P14. Dave Peterson P15. Jean-Francois Champagne, Regan Chandler, Dan Fendick, Hugo Caputo with a speeding penalty, and Donald Olson was the last car on the lead lap. Then we see a little bit of the used car lot. Guillaume Huard, Patrick Cowgill, Ryan Luna, Ryan Chandler, David Boucher, Roy Brown, Kyle Strykars, Brian Hoskins, Don Bowden, Matthew Gagnon, and a couple more who came to blows on lap 1. Last 5 cars in the field were Brendan Vichtil, such a promising qualifying, Steve Bammer, Blake Ziti, and Dale Peterson were the 34 cars who participated tonight, and the 34 cars who finished in an assortment of different laps. We'll see if we get any drivers to interview now. I don't see anybody. I can't imagine Adam Brockway is too happy, but Danik Van Daly, he's got to be the happiest guy in the world. I don't know what the average of 1, 1, 1, and 2 is, but it's pretty darn good.
Gotta be like a 1.2 or something right there, I had to say.
Let's see, 5 divided by 4. I can do 1.25. I can do that in my head. I should have done that originally, but 1.25 average finish for Danik Van Daly. That's pretty solid, Taylor, and I don't even know what else we can talk about it. If you were Adam Brockway, what are you thinking right now? Are you extremely frustrated, or do you get what happened?
Oh yes, I would be frustrated because of that, because of the lap car not being able to give way during this time. Now, for some competitors, it's unfortunate, but you know, for lap cars, it probably would have been better to just maybe move out of the way and realize this is a battle for the race lead. But unfortunately, that's always not the case. We'll have to wait and see what happens the next round.
Well, unfortunately, it looks like our top 3 finishers, any of our finishers in the GT3 Fixed Series are not going to be talking to us right now. We hope that we'll hear from them in another week. There's been some technical difficulties with the ever-popular TeamSpeak, so hopefully everything's back to normal next week, and hopefully we can finally talk to Danik Van Daly, because that guy he's been like the Stig. He's been winning every race, and I've never gotten to speak to him.
Well, hopefully that will be broken here when the next time we go back racing. Of course, another exciting season lays ahead for Danik Van Daly, as well as also Brockway, who is looking to see if he can just find a niche in the armor. And of course, the next round is going to be a little bit of a champion-style race, of course, at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as we'll see those competitors battle it out on July 19th.
And of course, we now transition into the GT3 Sprint Series, the sprint race of the night. Ironically, 5 minutes longer than the fixed race, but this is the GT3 Sprint Series schedule. If it looks familiar, that's because it is. It's exactly the same as the fixed series, but it is a different series. It's open setup, unlike the fixed series. There's 2 categories. We've got a AM class and a pro class. Here's the pro standings. Guillaume Levesque has absolutely turned it on these last 2 races. He did a 0 stop following Casey Kerwin's whatever Casey Kerwin did to mythologically save fuel and go for a 0 stop at Long Beach worked for him, and then he beat Moises Caraballo, who's right behind him at Fuji. Then Vincent Trepanier is in P3. He's been strong as well, and Andrew Hardman is P4. Andrew Waring is at a solid season. Drew Becker, Mark McDonald, Diego Morales, and Ted Lowendick and Tommy Brisson round out the top 10 in pro. But let's take a look at the AM standings as well. And surprise, the guy who's won all 3 of the first 3 races, Nick McLaughlin, is up top. Miguel Angel Fonseca's had quite a few podiums, but he hasn't won, so he's second, and Kwok Nin is third. Caleb Lehman, Clayton Ham, Ryan Patrick, Corey Precker, Colin McKenzie, Robert Ridgway, and Luke Davis have all had assorted amounts of success in the AM series. But Taylor, we'll get going in a matter of moments here, and we saw a crazy race at Watkins Glen already, but now we've got open setups. Here's the team standings as well. ASR Esports, Chrome, Precision Racing Esports, Lunatic Indie Autosport Racing, Evolve Sim Sports, and Rust Racing are the top 5 in pro. And then sort of the same varieties of those teams, just the AM squads are the top 5 in the team standings in the AM class. But Taylor, like I said, we saw a crazy race in the fixed series. I can only imagine what a sprint series race with a bigger field is going to be like.
It's going to be even more exciting, more amazing passing opportunities, more racing action here tonight. It's going to be exciting, and we're happy to have you with us here on RaceSpotTV.
In a matter of moments, qualifying will be underway, and we will see who can put it on pole. There's been a lot more competition, I can say, in this series, in the pro class, at the top of the standings. There's been competition in the fixed series, but Danik Van Daly has just been so dominant. But we've seen 2 different winners, but last race at Fuji, me and you and O'Leary, we were losing our minds because Caraballo and Guillaume Levesque were just all over each other. Fuji not the most similar to Watkins Glen, Taylor, but do you think we're in for another duel tonight?
Oh, we are in for another duel. We're going to be seeing duels all throughout the racetrack here at Watkins Glen. And given the fact, looking at the entry list, over 45 cars entered in for tonight. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be exciting. And we're happy to have you with us here and looking forward to seeing who can come out on top here in practice. Right now, it is Andrew Waring with a 1:40.670 right now, 0.2 faster than Moises Caraballo, who holds on in second right now. So this is just going to tell you how crazy it's going to be.
And in the fixed series, we talked about straight line speed a lot. It seemed like the Mercedes was the fastest in a straight line, but the BMW could hold its own, the Ferrari could hold its own. But in the sprint series with the open setup, I think the drivers very much disagree with that, because we've seen a very, very big shift with a lot of drivers. Alex Fournier, Laurent Christophe Deruel, and Kevin Norris, 3 of the ASR eSport drivers, they have switched from the Audi or from whatever else they were driving. They've chosen the Mercedes. Nathan Wager has chosen the Mercedes as well. So a lot of drivers are taking that 20-point penalty for switching cars mid-season because they think it's worth it here, Taylor.
It certainly is, and of course these Mercedes are absolutely amazing vehicles to drive here on the iRacing circuit. I mean, we remember seeing how the Mercedes, the older model that we had here on the surface, was always such a dominant and more of one of those cars that was easier to drive. And now with the new updates to the Mercedes, with the Evo kit that it was in place back in 2020 and now installed on these brand new Mercedes AMG GT3 cars on iRacing, a lot of people seem to like how these cars handle as well as the speeds they are able to carry here around this circuit.
We will be bringing you qualifying action for the GT3 Sprint Series in a matter of moments, just waiting for everything to get loaded up as we ride on board with one of our iRacing helicopters here, seeing the beautiful sights here of Watkins Glen, waiting for the session to advance to qualifying. Taylor, I don't know what else to talk about because I am very much distracted by the beauty of this track. It is just, I'm biased. I love this place. I think it's the finest road course in America, let alone the world. And I don't know if it's even possible to disagree with me.
It certainly is not impossible to disagree. This is one of my bucket list tracks. I would love to come up to the Finger Lakes of New York to take a look at this amazing circuit, and hopefully one day that will come to fruition here as we watch and get ready for qualifying. But just racing at this circuit, you know, there's so many different series, like you pointed out in our intro, Joey, about how many cars have come to race around this circuit. I mean, people from all over the world come to drive on it, whether it be in stock cars, open wheel, sports car racing, or if you just want to run laps and, you know, do a time attack event, or if you're one of those pro-am drivers who competes in the SCCA, this is a track to where you can really go and test your limits.
And now we see the GT3 cars testing their limits here. First car, first driver out on track. This is the man of the hour, the man of the season. Guillaume Levesque has just been absolutely incredible. He's just been on a roll in these past 2 races. And 8 minutes and 58 seconds to go. Qualifying has just ticked off, so Guillaume Levesque on a warm-up lap here, but we will see, can he make it another pole position here? He's got Andrew Waring to worry about. Andrew Waring has not been a driver who's been pole worthy in the first 2 weeks of this first 3 weeks of this season. He's been quick, but he's been in that 5th to 10th range. That's where he is in the championship, but we could have a change at the top here. We'll have to wait and see in a couple minutes' time when we finally see some lap times on the board.
We will see lap times go up on the board as drivers are trying to get themselves sorted out with their warm-up lap, try to get the tires up to temperature, brakes to temperature, and get ready to run lines here as we see, I believe that's the 888 machine out on track who's now getting ready to start his first lap. There's the 886 machine as they continue to log laps on this circuit and get ready for tonight.
Guillaume Levesque setting it up here through the final corner, taking a huge amount of speed, and his first lap begins now. No wave of the flag here, but Guillaume Levesque is on a flyer here into turn 1. Let's watch him. Looks pretty clean to me, but he's got many, many corners to nail here, Taylor.
He certainly does as we ride on board with Guillaume Levesque and the ASR Esports Chrome machine and his Mercedes, really hitting the power through the S's beautifully to carry as much speed and momentum that he can. Going to be exciting as he works his way down the back straightaway. I want to see how much speed he can carry through the bus stop in order to really lay down a flying lap. Beautiful jobs onto the curbing. I have to say, iRacing has done a phenomenal job with this new rescan.
3 different pole sitters to start the season. Moises Caraballo, Vincent Trepanier, and Guillaume Levesque. Guillaume Levesque wants to keep that statistic at 3 and wants to make it pole number 2 on the season. It's looked like a pretty clean lap, hopping the curbs through the bus stop, down to the bottom of the hill, through the toe of the boot. Everything just looks so straightforward, Taylor, and when we watch these top pro drivers, Guillaume Levesque said he's trying to go pro all the way in iRacing. It's just almost impossible to point out any mistakes.
I can say the Guillaume is definitely one to watch here. I mean, looking at some of his stats here, Guillaume Levesque has had a multitude of different strong racing careers here. Of course, he's one of the few drivers in this race who has over a 6,000 I rating, so he is definitely one to go up maybe one day to compete at the highest echelons of iRacing World Championship competition. The only other drivers who are around his I rating is none other than Moises Carabello and one other driver, which is none other than Dominic Oliveira, who is currently not out on track.
Guillaume Levesque, we gassed him up for a whole lap, and he took that very well. He's put it on pole to the tune of 3.5 tenths over Vincent Trepanier. Andrew Waring, the quickest driver in practice, is P3, and then McDonald and Fournier in his brand new Mercedes are the top 5. Watch some of the Rust Racing cars, the Rust Racing Mercedes. This is Mark McDonald, currently P4. Now P5 as Moises Caraballo goes up to P2, only 100th away from Guillaume Levesque. And that makes me very excited. That makes me very happy, and it should make you very excited too, because that means we're in for yet another Levesque-Caraballo duel, and I, for one, am very, very happy to see that.
I will have to agree with you on this as well. When you have such a close-knit battle and 100th of a second separates your top two in qualifying, that just shows that these two are going to battle it out, and it's going to be an exciting fight to the finish here.
Vincent Trepanier, one of those pole sitters that I did mention. He actually put it on pole at Long Beach. He was the quickest driver at Long Beach. Unfortunately, he just got beaten by Guillaume Levesque using skills learned from his Casey Kerwin. He did a 0 stop, he jumped them all, and he managed to win that race. But Vincent Trepanier on a good lap here, on a solid lap in the Mercedes, the number 87. He's Guillaume Levesque's teammate, so they might be talking with each other. They might have practiced together. They might be giving each other tips, but right now it is every driver for themselves. Vincent Trepanier through the final 2 corners. Again, just looks like a textbook lap. Looks perfectly fine from the outside, but now we wait through the final corner. The clock ticks down, the clock ticks up rather, and has he found the 4 tenths he needs to jump his teammate Guillaume Levesque? No, he has not. Anticlimax, but he'll have another shot at it.
He will indeed. He's got about 4 minutes left to make sure he can run another lap here around this circuit. We'll see if he's going to be able to improve at all anywhere on this circuit to see if he can have a shot of coming out with a pole position. Vincent having a strong run. We'll see if he's able to improve any here before this is all said and done.
AM pole right now is Ryan Patrick, which is a surprise. You're normally used to seeing Nick McLaughlin on pole in AM, but Nick McLaughlin is here tonight. He will put down a qualifying lap. He just has yet to actually do that. We're waiting to see the true speed of Mr. McLaughlin, but for now, Ryan Patrick is going to be very happy to be on AM pole, and he's going to be very happy to be ahead of quite a few pros. And that is one other thing we heard from the race organizers. The AM and Pro orders, the AM and Pro groups have been set. They will not change. Nobody in the AM class is going to get promoted to the Pro class. Nobody in the Pro class is going to get demoted to the AM class. Where you are is where you are, and that is where you will be for the rest of the season. But now we ride on board with Nick McLaughlin. He's gone 3 for 3 this season. He won the first 3 races, and he is a very, very difficult competitor in these GT3 cars, but he's yet to put down a lap, and he's running out of time to do it.
He certainly is. There you see Nick McLaughlin trying to get that run he needs through, entering into the boot. Nick having a quiet run through. He's got a little bit of work to do, but as he works his way up to the toe of the boot, he's going to try to hug that inside as best that he can. 2.5 minutes left to go on the clock. He's got to have enough runs here. Out of the boot, he will go down the hill. Nick McLaughlin really trying to send it on through in that number 62 Audi as he dives it down into the heel. And we'll approach up to the top of the hill momentarily. And
McLaughlin ditches the lap. Nick McLaughlin is not going to get a proper qualifying run in. He did finish one lap, but it was 2 seconds off pole. And Nick McLaughlin, the most dominant GT3 driver in the AM field, will start 32nd. And up at the top of the timesheets, I just noticed who improved his pole time, who else but Guillaume Levesque. He's now put 3 whole tenths over Moises Caraballo. But qualifying rages on. Here is Caraballo. He's got another shot at it. Can he find those 3 tenths that Levesque found? Unfortunately, he can only find 2 of them. He gets closer, but he's still a 10th off, and he's going to have one more shot at it. No, he isn't. Clock's going to run out. Caraballo's going to bring it back to pit road.
Going to be interesting to see here as Caraballo is going to try to see if he can get a few more seconds in. No, he decides to take it behind the walls. We watch the 19 machine of Mitchell Green. He currently sits 15th, tracking maybe to get a good run, to get a few extra spots. Currently about 0.03 of a second off the pace, and nope, decides to take it down pit road.
1 minute left in qualifying. Mitchell Green knew he could not improve and he would not get another lap. We'll see if there's anybody else out on track. This might just be a little bit of an anticlimax here. Everybody got in their laps early, and Guillaume Levesque clearly got an incredible lap. Ted Lowendick goes up to 11th place. He was one driver who had another lap in the tank. He has not switched to the Mercedes. We thought he might, but he's still in his trusty Audi through the final corner. One of the BMWs. Cannot quite see who the number is, but doesn't look like there is much improvement there. Another one of the Evolve Sim Sport cars. We saw Brendan Victil have such promise in qualifying in the fixed race rather, but he got punted out of the way in turn 1, starting 6th. But Andrew Waring wants to make up for that. He wants to follow up his good qualifying result. He's only got 10 seconds though. I don't know if he's actually going to make the line. This is going to be a race against the clock in more ways than one through the final corner. Andrew Waring currently P4, 3, 2, 1, and he just misses it. He doesn't think he was going to improve anyway, but the order is now set. We wait for the session to tick down, but on pole, no surprise, it will be Guillaume Levesque, and alongside will be who else but Moises Caraballo. We'll wait for the grid to load up. Here it is. 6,800 iRating is the average of the two on the front row, but behind them, 2 hard chargers, Vincent Trepanier and Andrew Waring. Ryan Patrick, your AM pole sitter, has beaten the vast majority of the pro field to go P5, and Alex Fournier in his shiny new Mercedes is P6. Ozzie Milwain, Mark McDonald, Diego Morales, Devin Horvath, Ted Lowendick, and Caven Norris, another new Mercedes taker, are in the top 12. Then down in 13th, it is Dominic Olivier of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Andrew Hardman, good qualifying lap for him in P14. Mitchell Green, David Bush are row 8, and Jonathan Wager is P17. Then second in the AM class is Alexandre Breton. Clayton Ham third in AM. Michael Broomhead P20. Kwok Nin AM. Lance Loomis Pro. And then I think we're going to be seeing a lot more AMs here. Rob Campbell, Caleb Lehman are 5th and 6th in AM. Then Michael Papiano, Brett Thurman, Lauren Christophe de Ruel, another switcher. Eric Hogg stays in the BMW. Robert Ridgway, solid qualifying for him. And Colin McKenzie is 30th. Now, here's the surprise. Corey Precker, first of all, he's usually pretty quick. He's further down than he would like. Rafael Russo is 32nd. But the two at the top of the championship in AM, Nick McLaughlin and Miguel Angel Fonseca, are 33rd and 34th and low in the field in their classes. Christopher Rhines and Ethan Tabitas are 35th and 36th. Then Sean Mulholland, Colin Heffernan, Alex Wright, Luke Davis, Nicholas Collender, David Morse, and 3 more. 45-car field tonight is rounded out by James Doherty, Arnaud Genet, Marc-Andre Desjardins. There's more than 45. Matt Hilton, Phil Amaro, Nick Horvath is 48th, and that is the grid for tonight. 48 cars at Watkins Glen, Taylor. We had troubles with traffic in the last race, and I don't think you're going to be able to get out of traffic here tonight.
Take a breath, I had to say there, Joey.
Oh, my God.
48 cars out on the track tonight. This is almost what we would see for an endurance race even, and this is just full of GT3 cars and going 40 minutes or 24 laps, whichever comes first. It's just going to show how exciting, chaotic, and interesting these next 40 minutes will be.
I needed a pit stop for my voice in the middle of reading all those. Oh my goodness. But the formation lap does begin. We get a time to rest our voices, to warm up the cars. 48 cars at Watkins Glen. Do a little bit of bookkeeping here. Let's take a look at the stewarding investigations from the last race. Alex Wright, who I don't know if he's here tonight. I don't remember. I read so many names. He got 10 points, 10 penalty points for bump passing. And Clayton Ham got 5 points deducted for a collision, causing a collision. So those are the two drivers who got bonked a little bit for causing trouble in the last race. But we go again here at Watkins Glen. 40 minutes this time, 5 extra minutes, a lot of extra cars. And we've got half a lap to go still.
Going to be exciting here these next few minutes as drivers are settling in, getting ready for the start of the race. 40 minutes. We're almost halfway through the season here for the PRL GT3 Sprint as well as Series. So we'll see how the rest of the season will fare for these competitors, but it's all about the top two of Levesque and Carabello, who will come out on top as the two Mercedes will do battle.
And I think an interesting dynamic here is going to be Ryan Patrick. He was only 1 second off pole. Your AM pole sitter, but he is amidst the pros. If you're Ryan Patrick, do you fight extra hard and try and beat the pros, or are you content with your AM win here, and are you going to hang back just a little bit, or do you want that overall win?
Maybe not able to get that overall win unless something were crazy to happen amongst the top 5. But for Ryan Patrick, honestly, race, but don't be too comfortable, because things can happen here throughout this race. Still race hard for position if you feel confident enough to battle with these pro drivers. Just remember, you are not battling those pro drivers. You're worried about your AM competitors here tonight. So just be smart of how you race with the pro drivers here tonight.
Because everybody was mixed up, I will go through the AM grid individually here for you. Ryan Patrick is on pole in AM. Then it's Breton, Clayton Ham, Quacknin, Rob Campbell, top 5 in qualifying in AM. Then Caleb Lehman, Robert Ridgway, Colin McKenzie, and then Corey Precker and Nick McLaughlin. That's your top 10 in AM. But everything else is much clearer up here at the top of the pro class. Guillaume Levesque, Moises Caraballo, they put on such a show at Fuji last week, and they are shaping up to do it again. Vincent Trepanier is alongside, and Andrew Waring will start in P4. The iRacing Porsche pace car pulls onto pit road here through the final corner. And Taylor, we're going to be going green here in a matter of moments. Levesque, Caraballo, side by side, and the green flag is out at Watkins Glen again.
Cars are already jockeying for position as, big little bit of nudge right there as they enter into the 90 for the first time. Who will survive it? Everyone's so far clean mid-pack. Let's see how the back half of the field goes. So far, so good as they climb the S's.
Levesque, a big lead over Caraballo at the moment, but it's clean through the S's on lap 1, unlike in the last race. Now Caraballo sets his sights forward. He sets his sights behind him. Vincent Trepanier, is he going to go for a move? Is Andrew Waring going to go for a move? No, he's not, but we've got quite a gaggle of cars all navigating through the bus stop here.
One car goes around as they enter into the bus stop. One of the Mercedes. That is, I believe, one of the pro drivers. I have to say Jonathan Wager, who now takes it around. Or, yeah, that's got to be Jonathan right there in the Evolve SimSport Mercedes.
Jonathan wagered that Mercedes was the quicker of the two. He took his 20-point penalty, but it's all fallen apart already. He's taken a 20-position penalty at the start of this race. Side by side, Dominic Olivier on the move. Side by side everywhere in the pack here. And look at Ryan Patrick. He has fallen through the field. I think he realized he doesn't have to really fight here. He's not fighting for the overall win. He's got many spots back to P2 in class. He's P12 overall right now, but he's still very comfortable in AM lead.
He certainly is, but he still has to be careful with that as they work their way through. One car will loop it around almost. That's Dominic Olivier.
Dominic Olivier, who is so promising, and he's fallen apart on the exit of the boot. But we finished lap number 1, a lot less drama than in the previous race. Guillaume Levesque still leads over Caraballo, over Trepanier, over Andrew Waring. But we rage on. 38 more minutes of this. Can Caraballo catch back up to Levesque? Can Trepanier catch up to Caraballo? Looks like it's single file for about 40 cars deep, though.
Hey, we'll see some passing action here before it's all said and done as they climb their way up the S's. Great camera work and production work by our producer Tyler Maxson to give you the sights and sounds and information that all of you need to see to enjoy sports car racing at its finest as they come out of the S's down the back straightaway. One of the YS machines now doing battle with the BMW as they enter into the bus stop. As we keep an eye on the competitors here, working their way through the carousel, the number 7 machine there you see of Clayton Ham, who was in the PRL Cup Series on Sunday, had a strong run, but ran into some problems at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, having to work his way through in 18th as we watch on entering into the boot. One of the lunatic Lamborghinis now trying to hold strong as he works his way through, trying to hold off Mitchell Green in the 19 machine Mercedes. As they come up through the top of the hill, out of the toe, they'll work their way back towards the heel of the boot. Great racing action among the competitors here. As one car goes off, that's the 43 of Caleb Liam, who has some problems. As we watch on these battling for position, the 20 of David Bush holding strong.
David Bush, Alexandre Breton, P2 in class. He's actually made up a little bit of ground with Ryan Patrick giving up all those places on lap 1. The gap between AM lead and AM second is still 3.
Still 3 seconds back as they watch their way through, as we watch the competitors work their way across the start-finish line. 3 laps complete, 36 minutes left to go in the race as they work their way back into the 90. Competitors trying to get themselves jockeying for position, get themselves into a rhythm right now. Missing nothing up front as Guillaume Levesque holds a half a second lead over Moises Carabello, keeping on the battle.
0.4 of a second at the top of the timesheets, but look at this, 48 cars in the field, and if my counts are correct, every single one of them is still, or 43 cars are still out on track here. So not every single one of them is still rolling, but the vast majority of the field that took the start of the race are still around, riding through the entry to the bus stop here. That's just an incredible shot as we see the drivers hop the curb. But battles rage on to the back of the field. Ethan Tavitas is under attack, even at the back of the field, even for 32nd. They are giving it everything here as he tries to fight back the Mercedes and the Lamborghini of Colin Heffernan.
He certainly is, as we watch the YS Audi machine working his way through the toe of the boot. He's under some pressure by a couple of Mercedes and a Lamborghini as they work their way out of there. And there you see some more Mercedes out on the track trying to catch up to their competitor. I think pretty much your top 4 is Mercedes, and then you finally get to one of the BMWs out on track. I believe that's not Diego Morales, that's Devin Horath in the lunatic Indy Autosports BMW.
P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6, P7, P8, all Mercedes. So you wonder, was it the right decision to give up 20 points just for this one race? We are going to a lot of tracks where high speed does matter, but 20 points is a lot of points, Taylor. Would you have made that decision? Would you have switched to the Mercedes?
Well, honestly, you have to go with the flow of what the cars are showing, and you know for a fact the Mercedes are always going to be strong with their top-end speed compared to some of the other competitors. BMWs do have a little bit of also that top-end speed, but they are a little bit of bulkier compared to the sleek Mercedes. As we see Devin go off a little bit through the bus stop, that might be a time penalty.
Oh, Ted Lowendick spins! Ted Lowendick and Mitchell Ian Green, they were side by side through the bus stop, and Ted Lowendick comes off worse. Terrible luck for Ted. He stayed in his Audi even though he knew the Mercedes had an advantage, and unfortunately he has lost out in that battle with Mitchell Ian Green in the bus stop. We'll take a replay of that when we can, but it's not over yet. The 7 of Andrew Hardman makes the move on the AM runner-up at the moment. Alexandre Breton, Michael Broomhead getting through as well. Action all the way through the field, and I guess it shouldn't be a surprise with such a big field.
No, it certainly is not a surprise as we see some drivers take a nose out. We see the battle for position as Laurent Christopher Deroux will try to get around Clayton Ham, does not make it work this time around. But as they approach the top of the hill towards turn number 10, they are just all over jockeying for position. How about Rob Campbell in the 93 lunatic machine trying to find an opening?
Rob Campbell started P5 in class, currently running P5 in class, so it's been a solid race for him. But let's take a look at what happened to Ted Lowendick and Mitchell Ian Green. Oh, I think we might have to put that on Teddy.
Yeah, Teddy had a little bit of an issue right there, and unfortunately for him, his day might be done. But of course, we've seen Audis take heavier hits than that and still come home with top 10 finishes. So we'll keep an eye and see what Ted can do as the race progresses.
The old hard-nosed Audi. We're gonna have to call it that for the rest of the season. I'm just dumbfounded at how that car can take such big hits. Ted's still out on track. He's lost a lot of positions, but he is still going to run, and if I know him, I know he's going to keep running to the end of the race, but very little room being given down the front straight here, or the back straight, rather, as the two BMWs of Rob Campbell and Kwok Nin go at it. Campbell gets ahead. He's up into P4 in class, but this is a pro battle further back between the two Mercedes. Oh, very, very deep, and he gets through. Well done by the Precision Racing Esports machine, who gets through, but unfortunately, Michael Pabiano is struggling, or not Michael Pabiano. Michael Pabiano is the one who got through there, but some guys struggling at the back, some guys moving forward. Eventually, it'll start to even out. It's not going to even out there. We got a Mercedes pointing in the wrong direction.
As Corey Precker in the YS Mercedes in the M-Class category, he's also having a tough night this past couple of weeks in the PRL. Had a rough night over at Atlanta in the Cup Series, and not having the best of night so far in the GT3 series here at Watkins Glen.
Horvath and Morales, the battle for P8. Horvath has actually gotten through Diego Morales. He's on the attack here now on Mark McDonald, who's having the race of his season so far in P7. Unfortunately, though, he's got about 3 seconds ahead of him. He's got 1.5 seconds behind him, and Devin Horvath is only bringing down that gap right now.
He certainly is, as they work their way through the S's right now, and Horvath trying to find what the run he needs to hold off Diego Morales as they come up to the top of the S's down the back straightaway. Morales gets a good run of the draft. He'll show his nose to the inside, as Horvath will have the run of the draft as well. He's got his teammate in one of the sister cars, Ryan Patrick, in the AM category, still holding out in the top 10.
Morales makes the move back on Horvath. I thought Horvath was going to set his sights right ahead, but he's now got a Mercedes named after Diego Morales right ahead of him.
Trouble for a couple of cars towards the back half of the course. Eric Hagg and one of the YS BMWs.
Oh dear, it gets worse.
It does get worse for the BMWs over by the bus stop.
It gets worse for YS Motorsports too. It's all falling apart. I see Colin Heffernan's in pit lane as well, so it was a very clean start. We've had a clean first 10 minutes of the race, and it seems like it's falling apart just a little bit. Here's what happened to Eric Hogg. Oh, he just drives through the grass and takes out the number 101 BMW of Michael Pabiano. Trouble for the two BMWs. And it continues on. 29 minutes to go. This is about when we started to see trouble happening in the last race. We saw a lot of spins. We saw a lot of drivers nosing it into the wall, and it's begun here too.
It certainly has, as we watch on here. There's Devin Horvath as he works his way through. You're right on board with him and his BMW. Trying to keep up to pace with Diego Morales to stay inside the top 10. Ryan Patrick about 0.8 of a second back as they come through the 90. Strong run indeed for them as they work their way up to the top of the hill through the S's.
Horvath has made the move on Morales before, but can he make it again is the question. He chases him down the straight here. Mercedes versus BMW. The Mercedes is the preferred car in a straight line, but the draft is helping just a little bit for the BMW of Devin Horvath, but he can't get close enough, get anywhere near close enough through the bus stop. And Diego and Devin stay in the same order they were before. And Ryan Patrick behind likely isn't going to cause much trouble, as there's a little bit of smoke going through the carousel. Nobody in trouble up ahead, though. And Horvath and Morales rage on here in this battle for 8th.
Yeah, a lot of great battles all throughout the track right here as you watch on. There you see Horvath trying to hold on. He's got the next Lamborghini of one of the drivers of Ryan Patrick behind him in 10th. And then you go to a couple of more Mercedes of Mitchell Green and Kevin Norris, and then a couple of more cars right behind in Lamborghini of course, the 3 and the BMW machine of Andrew Hardman, who are working their way through.
In the background, I think I saw Kevin Norris driving it through the grass a little bit. That was a very interesting moment, but he's recovered and he has managed to hold position over David Bush III, who is behind him. It's a little bit of a train again here, but between Morales, between Horvath, then Patrick, then Green, then Norris, then Bush, then Hardman, and then Broomhead even. Seems like just a little bit of a train for the moment. Nobody seems to be able to get close to the car in front, but Kevin Norris is certainly trying. His teammate Guillaume Levesque is leading, and his teammate Guillaume Levesque actually has the smallest gap he's had for this entire race. Caraballo is chasing him down. We'll have to take a look at the battle for the lead a little bit later, and I think we're seeing lap traffic here that Kevin Norris is navigating through. That's incredible that we've already got some lap traffic.
Got a car off in the SS. That looks like to be Rob Campbell out there in the 93 who had an issue out on track. He will continue on, and we'll see what happens as they continue to work through the S's. And look at Brian Patrick has made up some ground.
Moises Caraballo's made up some ground too. Look at this. This looks like the last race. Those 0.3 of a second between our two leaders, between Caraballo and Levesque, the two titans of this GT3 Sprint Series so far. Caraballo's there, but can he catch up to the back of Levesque close enough to actually make a move? It couldn't happen in the last race with the BMW Mercedes battle, but now it is Mercedes v Mercedes. Two different teams, could very well be two different setups, but I have a strong feeling that both of these guys are going to be pretty slippery in a straight line. Moises Caraballo pretty slippery on the exit of that corner, takes a bite out of the grass on the exit, but he is there, and can he get by Levesque?
He's going to try his best as they work their way through, and Caraballo is definitely going to try to put the pressure on. 0.2 of a second. He'll look to the inside, side by side, battle for the lead into the 90, and Caraballo will edge out over Levesque.
I don't know if Levesque had a bad exit out of turn one, or if he elected to get behind Caraballo so he could make the move back or save a little bit of fuel. We've seen Guillaume Levesque. He's the guy to do fuel strategy. He did the zero stop at Long Beach. He was saving fuel behind Moises at Fuji last week, Taylor. And I have a feeling that's what we're seeing again. He might have given up the lead, but Guillaume is going to be saving a lot of fuel here, and I think he's happy to run in second right now. And that's a very, very odd dynamic, but sometimes running in second is the place you want to be this early in the race.
As they work their way through, yeah, it's going to be a tough battle to watch indeed for these competitors, as we see Caraballo now starting to pull out over Levesque. And looking at the lap times right now, Levesque actually has ran the fastest lap the race over, or actually Caraballo ran the fastest lap over Levesque. So we are really seeing a big change now heading over to Moises Caraballo this time around in this stage.
Battles rage on further back in the field. Devin Horvath and Diego Morales haven't been able to get away from each other, and Ryan Patrick has closed up to the back of him, but here comes Horvath again. At a disadvantage in a straight line, but at an advantage in the corners. And unfortunately, Taylor, it looks like that's just going to make it impossible to pass unless there's a mistake from Morales.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this will work on through the field here, and we'll see how these two will battle it out, especially when we get into the pit stop section of this race.
Line astern here for P8, P9, then P10 Mitchell Ian, or P11 Mitchell Ian Green. Not much going on in the field right now. We're just in a little bit of a holding pattern with 24 minutes to go. Fuel strategy is coming into consideration. You think Devin Horvath is probably going to want to save a little bit of fuel to maybe jump Diego Morales. Guillaume Levesque, I am almost certain, is saving fuel and trying to do a little bit of pit strategy here. Taylor, when the field is so close, pit strategy is of the utmost importance. And when you come into a race like this, do you have a pit strategy that you're going by? Or after lap one, does that usually go out the window and you've got to start thinking on the fly?
It's a mix of both. You gotta be able to make call and audible in case something were to happen out on the circuit, but overall you try to stick with your original plan when going into a motor race. You kind of want to count backwards a little bit as far as when you want to come down the pit road. You also want to make sure that if certain things happen, such as maybe a problem you might have encountered, or maybe the leader or a driver you're battling with position is involved in an incident, you also have to make sure to be ready to attack and move things around when that were to happen in order to get around or stay ahead of your competitors.
Update on Nick McLaughlin in the AM class. He started P10. He had a very disappointing qualifying. And where is he in class? He's in P5 already. So the charge forward, Nick McLaughlin, is well and truly on. He's got quite a big gap. He's got about 16 seconds up to Ryan Patrick. So it's going to be hard for him to go for the foursome, to go for his 4th win in 4 races. But McLaughlin on quite the recovery drive, and we'll see if he can continue to move his way forward. He does have Kwok in his sights a couple seconds ahead, so 4th place, maybe even the podium possible for McLaughlin.
It's going to be an interesting run to watch these drivers battling out here in this stage as we are approaching the halfway point of tonight's race here in about a lap or two's time. As these drivers are really having a good run there. You see the 32 machine of Devin Horvath in his BMW trying to catch back up to Diego Morales to try to break up the Mercedes stranglehold on the top 8.
Drivers we've lost so far: Colin McKenzie, Colin Heffernan, Ted Lowendick, Miguel Angel Fonseca, and Lance Loomis did not even take to the grid. So Ted Lowendick, unfortunately, the hard-nosed Audi just took a little bit too hard of a hit, and we finally found the thing that can destroy it. So Ted Lowendick is out, and a couple of AM guys, Miguel Angel Fonseca, not going to continue his podium streak. Colin Heffernan not going to continue with a good result here tonight. But the battle rages on here for P8 and P9. We haven't been able to look away. We almost want to look away and see something else in the field, but this is the battle, and they're not going side by side, and it has helped because they're catching up to the back of Mark McDonald. Suddenly the battle for 8th is going to be the battle for 7th.
It certainly is, and they're putting on one extraordinary battle for position. I mean, you have 4 cars, 3 different manufacturers jockeying for position, and they are going to work their way out through the heel of the boot as Morales works his way through trying to keep up with Mark McDonald in 7th position. And there you see Devin Horvath trying to find that opening he needs. He does have help from one of the sister cars of Ryan Patrick, your Pro-Am leader.
Good run through the final corner for Mark McDonald, but now that Morales has caught him, can he make the move for P7? Morales has been clearly quicker than Devin Horvath. He lost it for just a moment, but ever since he's gotten ahead, he has stuck ahead, and now he's finally on offense instead of defense, and he's got his fellow Mercedes ahead of him. Mark McDonald in the number 218. Diego on the attack here, down the back straight, but I think he's just a little bit too far again this time.
Yeah, he's not close enough to make anything work this time around as they work down the back straightaway heading into the bus stop chicane. And Diego Morales really trying to find an opening as he works through the bus stop, but not able to get a good run.
Battle for the lead continues. Guillaume Levet's just riding here in the tow of Moises Caraballo. How much fuel can he save? I'm sure he's asking the same question. He's running behind Caraballo. He's in the draft. He's probably lifting and coasting some of the braking zones. Taylor, can you hear anything he's doing here behind Caraballo?
Let's see here as he comes up to the top of the hill. Not really major things. He's not getting on the throttle quick enough, or not as normal compared to what he normally would do. So mostly it's on the corner exits where I see him really backing off.
19 minutes to go. I don't think we'll see Guillaume Levet go on the attack on Moises Caraballo for a few more minutes, but we do have to start thinking pit stops. We are past halfway now. We just have passed the 20-minute mark with 19 and a half minutes to go. This is around when we started seeing pit stops in the last race, but nobody's chosen to come in yet.
No, not at this point in time, as we're already past the halfway point of tonight's race, and drivers are trying to make the needed preparation. We could be seeing them coming down pit road here in the next 3 to 4 minutes, or in the next 1 or 2 laps, though.
This is as close as Diego Morales has been to the back of Mark McDonald. He is all over McDonald, coming up the hill through the S's. Morales is already to his bumper. He's going to peek to the inside. I don't think Mark McDonald is going to fight it too hard if they do go side by side here into the bus stop. Mercedes v Mercedes, and Diego Morales easily through on Mark McDonald. Morales up to 7th, but unfortunately for him, the next car is Ozzy Milwane 3 seconds up the road. So he has made one move, but he's got quite a bit of ground to make another. But Mark McDonald continues to fall. Devin Horvath on the attack. He takes a peek to the inside. cannot go for the move yet. We'll see if he sets one up here. Into the toe of the boot, the big Beamer and the fast Mercedes. Stay back in line now, but Horvath is hungry. He wasn't able to make the move on Morales, but he's clearly all over the back of McDonald.
He certainly is, and he is really putting the pressure on McDonald as they now enter into the heel of the boot. Horvath, though, not really making anything happen just quite yet, not able to make the pass setup as they come up to the top of the hill of turn number 10.
Ryan Patrick just watching the show from behind in that Lamborghini. He's still the AM leader. Second place in AM is Clayton Ham, who is 6 seconds back. So Ryan Patrick doesn't have much to worry about on that front, but he's just watching the show here. It's a great exit by Devin Horvath down the front straight. He's in the draft of Mark McDonald. Does he take a peek to the inside? Does he attempt to go for the move? No, he doesn't. He's just too far back again. The BMW, unfortunately, doesn't seem to have the legs in a straight line. McDonald a little bit wide in turn 1, but it's deja vu again, down the back straight, Taylor. He's in the draft. We'll see if he can make the move this time.
He's watching on board, watch the focus in his eyes as he tries to find the opening. He'll look to the inside, gets a good run. Will he be able to carry that momentum, though, through the bus stop as we see McDonald back off and let Horvath have the position?
Another position down for Mark McDonald, and these all are for position. These guys are all pros, so in the space of 2 laps, Mark McDonald has fallen from 7th to 9th, and he hasn't fought it too hard. I think he knows his place right now, and he knows that it's probably safer to just let off there and let those guys go by. But now, it's about the same thing we saw before. Can Horvath get back to Diego Morales? Can he actually make a move? Will it have to be in the pit stops? We're starting to see some pit stops being made. I just saw Alex Wright bring it down pit road. He's the first legitimate stopper without damage. Garabayo and Levesque here, as close as they've ever been, but one of them's got to bite first, and one of them's got to come in first.
They certainly do. As they come out of the final corner, they're going to stay out one more time here at Watkins Glen. Nobody else has decided to come down pit road at this point in time, but we'll let you know when the first driver decides to blink.
Levesque is just hounding Caraballo, but it's going to be very, very difficult to actually make the move, and it's going to be good for Caraballo that he knows that Levesque isn't actually going for the move, but Ozzy Milwane brings it down pit road. He is the first of our leaders. He's the first in the top 10 to bring it down pit road. He was kind of in an island of his own, so he's not going to likely make up any positions from that move, but Ozzy Milwane is the first taker, and everybody else in the top 10 is going to see that, and they're going to start thinking, when do I bring it down? How many more laps can I go? Guillaume Levesque still in tow of Caraballo, but it's just a waiting game here.
It certainly is. We'll see how this will play out for some competitors here as they continue to jockey for positions around this circuit. There you see Caraballo and Levesque working their way through, trying to get to the first cycle of pit stops.
Caraballo almost clipped the grass there on the exit. He's in a comfortable position. Levesque isn't going to pass him, but he is still giving it absolutely everything here. Through the last couple of corners of the boot, he still holds on to the lead. He's still extending the limits of the track as far as he possibly can, almost putting a wheel in the grass at the top of the hill. It's almost like he is actually defending for the race lead, even though he just has a fuel-saving car behind him through the last 2 corners. Is this the lap when Caraballo brings it in? Let's see if he peels to the right here. Nope. Levesque stays out as well. Vincent Trepanier in the background does bring it in, though. He does, Waring does, and I think Fournier might follow him in.
And we'll see here as they come out onto the track, and Fournier does. Diego Morales next to come by. He will also come down pit road. Everybody inside the top 7 will. Mark McDonald decides to stay out on the track along with Ryan Patrick, as they will now stay on the track. But for most of the field, everyone inside the top 10 decides to continue on and come down pit road.
It's got to only be one more lap for Caraballo and Levesque, I think, because they've both had their chances to save fuel, but they haven't. You can't save multiple laps of fuel, I don't think, so they will likely bring it down here soon. Here's the race off pit road. Vincent Trepanier's out, Waring's out, Fournier's going to get out. Just about everybody's going to stay in the same order they were. No jumping that I can see. Morales and Horvath, that's an interesting battle. That stays the way it was. Mark McDonald or rather Mitchell-Ian Green comes out behind them, Caven Norris, David Bush, and a lot of guys still in the same order they came in, but now it's the waiting game. Our leaders are coming around to reach the pit lane very, very soon, and we'll see if that iconic blue Mercedes and the purple Mercedes right behind it bring it down pit road. We just wait now.
They're in heavy lap traffic right now as well for Caraballo and Levesque, so we'll see how this will factor in. Will they come down pit road now that they caught lap traffic? And yes, indeed, Caraballo over the radio has said he is coming down pit road.
And I can only wonder, does Levesque want to bring it down with him, or is he going to stay out? No, he does bring it down with him. Caraballo and Levesque, the two race leaders, in pit lane at the same time. And now the question is, who has saved the most fuel? Who can get that critical pit stop timer lower than the other? They're almost side by side in the pit lane. They're almost equal, and it will come down to who has the better pit stop. Caraballo is going to bring it down into the second pit stall. Levesque will bring it down right ahead of him. But who's going to get the jump here? They both park it, and now we wait for about 13 seconds.
Waiting in, this is going to get exciting to see who will win the race off pit road here. 11 minutes left to go on the clock, and it's a drag race out of pit road. Caraballo will be able to overhold and maintain the race lead over Levesque, but now it's time to kick it into overdrive as Levesque gets right on the back bumper as they climb the S's.
There's going to be no hanging back now. That's what Levesque was doing for about the last 20 minutes, just hanging in tow. Need to make the move, could save a little bit of extra fuel. Unfortunately, the extra fuel he saved only made for about 0.4 of a second, and now he's got to make the move on the track alongside Caraballo into the bus stop, but he's not able to make the move this time. But we know Guillaume Levesque is able to stick with Caraballo. We know he has the speed, and this battle will not be giving up anytime soon. The only question is, can Caraballo hang on? Levesque to the outside, he's completely clear into the corner before the braking zone. What a move by Guillaume Levesque to take the lead.
Guillaume Levesque, of course, is one of those future stars on the iRacing service to go and battle for a world championship. He is really going to showcase his talents here tonight, along with Caraballo, as they come up to the top of the hill, working their way down the hill to back into the heel of the boot. Great talent, great racing amongst these three. And there you see Vincent Trepanier right there back in third, trying to see if he can have a shot into this, but he's about 3 seconds back, has a little bit of work to do as he goes wide.
I think Caraballo clipped the grass on the entry there, and he just continues to fall. We'll have to, I wonder if we can see a replay of what actually happened to Caraballo in the carousel, because it seemed like Levesque was able to just drive through him. I don't know quite what happened to Caraballo, but he got a terrible exit out of the carousel, and he has to bring it down pit road. Does he have a penalty?
Possible speeding penalty. We'll find out here what he does.
But I would think if he had a speeding penalty, he would have served it on pit lane. So I don't know, maybe an unsafe pit exit penalty?
That, or it was also a speeding off pit exit.
That is entirely possible. I didn't even think of that, and I think you're actually right. In the race with Guillaume Levesque, he just gave it a little bit too much, and he was able to beat Guillaume out of the pits, but unfortunately, it seems like he did it illegally, and Caraballo brings it down pit road. He's going to have to sit on pit lane for 30 or 40 seconds here, and that is just tragic for Moises. It was looking so good for one of our championship contenders, and now Guillaume Levesque, he's going to have a great day up front, and he's going to make up so many more points in this race. Trepanier is going to be happy to pick up second. Waring's going to be happy to pick up third. But Caraballo, that's a huge hit in the championship.
It certainly is, and keeping an eye on that battle for second. Waring is making up some ground on Trepanier in that second spot. About 0.8 of a second separate those two as we go back to watching Devin Horvath and Diego Morales battling, as they have really never stopped battling since the drop of the green flag.
Devin Horvath battling with track limits a little bit there. He throws the BMW into the grass on the exit, giving it everything, wringing the neck of this BMW, but it's just not enough for Diego Morales, who's now gotten to the back of Ozzy Milwain. That was about a 3-second gap before the pit cycle, and Diego has made up the entirety of that gap. Suddenly, he is in the conversation for a top 5. That is going to be a heck of a battle to watch. Ozzy Milwain in the Mercedes, Diego Morales in another Mercedes. Morales has been able to pass. He's been able to make moves. And can he make the move for the top 5 here?
He's going to try as Morales looks for the opening he needs. Not going to be able to make anything happen in the Simsa Mercedes. As he comes out, he'll maybe show his nose on the front straightaway, but not really going to make anything work this time around, entering into the 90. Stays tucked up behind in his 23 Mercedes in front or behind Ozzy Milwane in the 114 as they work their way up to the top of the hill through the S's.
Time for the draft. This is what we've seen so many times in this race. Diego Morales chasing down a car, gets in the draft, and he's just so confident, so aggressive through the bus stop. He pops out to the outside of Ozzy Milwane. Diego Morales, one more car, sits ahead of him, but he can't get ahead of Milwane. Milwane has the advantage, the bus stop, but now he's lost it. Diego peeks to the inside through the carousel, and Diego Morales is through.
What a pass by Diego Morales, and here comes none other than Horvath into the mix. He's going to join this fight as we will see how Horvath can try to break the stranglehold of the Mercedes. He's in between a Mercedes sandwich with 2 and 2 in front of him and 2 behind him as he looks to see if he can get out of there, working out of the toe. He'll come up to the top of the hill, entering downhill through the heel of the boot as they work their way through. Can't really show his nose this time around as they work their way through. It is Morales, then Milwane, Horvath, McDonald, and Green. And then, of course, rounding out your top 10 is Caven Norris in his number 774 as Ryan Patrick has fallen out of the top 10 in 11. Still holds on, though, to the AM class lead by over 3 more positions over Clayton Ham.
Clayton Ham comfortably in second, and then behind him, Kwok Nin is third in class. Then Alexandre Breton and Nick McLaughlin are the top 5 in AM right now. But this train continues. Ozzy Milwane falling back just a little bit. Devin Horvath wasn't able to pass Diego Morales, but is he able to pass Ozzy Milwane in one of those fellow Mercedes? Let's see if it's the same story. Up through the S's, he's about 2 car lengths back, and now we follow that bright yellow and white BMW on the attack on Ozzy Milwane.
He gets a great run, but will he have enough momentum to carry him down the back straightaway? Not close enough to make anything work this time around. As they enter down into the braking zone, he's going to stay tucked up behind through the bus stop chicane and then work his way through the carousel. Not close enough to make anything work.
Not close enough, but Ozzy Milwane was all over the place in the bus stop that time. Devin Horvath is there. Ozzy Milwane knows he's there. Horvath wasn't able to intimidate Morales into a mistake, but can he do it to Ozzy Milwane here? Into the toe of the boot. Only a few more times he's going to be able to drive through here. Milwane hangs on, but Horvath is aggressive, and he is quick.
Very aggressive, very quickly down onto the pedal. They'll go down the hill into the heel of the boot, and Horvath trying to find the opening around Milwane, and he cannot make it work this time. Morales goes a little wide as they come up to the top of the hill of turn number 10.
The train rolls on through a little bit loose. Caven Norris in the background in the battle with Ryan Patrick. That's not really a battle. Norris, the car almost stepped out for him. The purple Mercedes in the background, but he stays pointing in a straight line. The race continues into turn 1. Devin Horvath is going to have another shot into turn 1. Another shot down the back straight. Let's see if he can do anything with it.
Not even work anything out that time around, but he's still about 0.3 of a second. If he can get a good run up through the S's, he may have a shot to make things work. And as he gets up to the top of the hill, not close enough to make anything work with the slipstream.
And there is a battle heating up for second place. Andrew Waring has actually caught Vincent Trepanier, so the battle for second is not over, just like the battle for 6th back here is not over between Milwane and Horvath. Milwane hangs on, far cleaner, far better through the bus stop that time, but we'll peek up ahead to Vincent Trepanier when we can, because that gap is only 0.4 of a second now. Look at that black and green Mercedes. He is on the chase, Andrew Waring is, and he's got second place right ahead of him. Remember, he was first in practice. He came into this event with a lot of confidence, with a lot of speed, and suddenly his best result of the season is right ahead of him.
It certainly is, as you're right on board with Waring as he hugs the inside out of turn number 10, down the short chute over into turn 11. The Evolve SimSport Mercedes really putting the pressure on Vincent.
through the final corner. The gap is coming down with every lap. Waring has found something here, or Trepanier has lost something. Either way, we cross the line. 2 laps to go, I believe, is what Guillaume Levesque has taken through turn 1. Waring's on the chase. Looks like it was a decent exit from Trepanier, very, very wide, but that allowed him to carry a lot of speed. Let's see if Waring can do anything in a straight line in the draft here.
Not close enough to really make anything happen this time around into the bus stop, but he can make up some ground down the back straightaway as he works his way through. Half a second and closing as they enter into the bus stop. Watch the speed he can carry into there. Ooh,
oh my goodness. Burris, Andrew Waring carried all that speed to the corner there. That was incredible, but he throws it off into the grass almost on the exit of the carousel. Waring is throwing everything at this car, everything at this race. He wants second place, and Vincent Trepanier seems cool as a cucumber up there. He's not making any mistakes. He's not too worried about Waring. He just says, you know what, you can make all the mistakes you want. You're not getting by.
Hell with that thought as the war picks up a notch here, and now he'll go to the outside, and we see Trepanier hold the defensive line into the inside. Waring takes the long way around out of turn number 9, still side by side, but he has the inside advantage up to the top of the hill at turn 10, and as they enter into the braking zone, he'll pick up that spot, move him back into P2.
I should just stop predicting moves, because that's the second time tonight that I've commentators cursed a driver. Vincent Trepanier falls to Andrew Waring now. Waring takes second. Now can Trepanier fight back? You can see there's a little bit of damage on the nose of Andrew Waring's car on the left side, or the right side rather. But we take the white flag here, I believe, and Vincent Trepanier, he's got one more lap to take that second place back.
He certainly does. Here's a big wobble right there for Waring as he works his way through. They're catching up to lap car Corey Precker in the 35 Mercedes as they work their way up to the top of the hill through the S's. Waring starting to pull a little bit of a gap, half a second ahead as they come out of the S's down the back straightaway towards the bus stop.
Trepanier just has nothing in a straight line though here. Unfortunately, Vincent Trepanier nowhere near Andrew Waring. Down the straight. Now into the carousel, Trepanier, a much, much shallower entry. Carries a lot of speed, but Waring carries even more speed. You see him kicking up a couple blades of grass there on the exit of the corner. He might have second place here, but he's still throwing everything at it. Ozzie Milwain throwing it through the grass. Mitchell-Ian Green loses it. Stays out of Kevin Norris, though. That was very, very close, and I think for good measure, he's serving a slowdown now, so he might fall out of the top 10 here overall. As Ryan Patrick tries to pick up the pieces. Look at Andrew Hardman getting by Patrick for P11 overall. It's all getting crazy here in the final lap.
It certainly is here as they come out of the few final corners. Guillaume Levesque, though, he is approaching those final couple of corners as well to take home a checkered flag here at Watkins Glen as the white flag is out. We're on the final lap. Checkered flag.
Checkered flag is out. Guillaume Levesque through the final corner. He's done it. 3 wins on the trot, 3 out of 4 wins this season. Guillaume Levesque wins at Watkins Glen. The battle with Moises Caraballo was very exciting, but it all ended in tears with a likely speeding penalty for Moises. Andrew Waring brings it home in a fantastic P2, and Vincent Trepanier is third. But this battle rages on here. Mitchell-Ian Green and Kevin Norris through the final corner. Looks like Mitchell will hang on, or rather Mark McDonald will hang on. Kevin Norris thinks about it, can't make it work. Mitchell-Ian Green will finish as the last car in the top 10. Nick McLaughlin, what a recovery drive. Started P10 in class. He's going to finish P5 in class. His winning streak comes to an end as Ryan Patrick wins in AM. Clayton Ham is second. Kwok Nin is third. And here comes Nick McLaughlin in that Audi. It will be P5 for Nick McLaughlin in class.
Yeah, here comes Moises Caraballo trying to get into at least 24th as he gets around the... Oh!
Oh, Robert Ridgway. Robert Ridgway in such a good position in P7. He's going to lose P7 here in AM. Matt Hilton gets by. I think he's got a big enough gap that he'll still finish 8th ahead of Sean Mulholland. But Robert Ridgway drops it with 1 corner to go as he's battling with a pro driver, Moises Caraballo. 18th in class for Moises, and Robert Ridgway does bring it home in 8th place, albeit with a far more damaged Mercedes than he would have liked. Final couple Ferraris navigating through the final corner, the 42 of Caleb Lehman, and then Laurent Christophe Desruelles will be the last car in the lead lap in a couple seconds. He's a little bit further back in the pro class, but wow, Taylor, we thought it couldn't get crazier than the last race, but we got a crazy race. We got pit lane drama. This race had just about everything.
It certainly did, and with that, it is a dominating performance by Mercedes as well. 6 out of the, or pretty much 6 cars in the top 5 and 9 cars in the top 10.
That is incredible to see, and it's all German manufacturers, but you've just got the one lone BMW there in 7th. Levesque, Waring, Trepanier, your podium. Then Alex Fournier, a quiet day, but a solid day in 4th. Diego Morales made all those passes to finish 5th. Then Ozzie Milwane, Devin Horvath, Mark McDonald, Caven Norris, and Mitchell Ian Green were the top 10. Then back in 11th, Andrew Hardman had a solid day in 11th. Your AM winner, Ryan Patrick, was 12th overall. Then David Bush, Clayton Ham was 2nd in AM. Dominic Olivier was 15th overall. Kwok Nin, Alexandre Breton, and Nick McLaughlin round up the top 5 in AM. And Michael Broomhead and Jonathan Wager were between them. Forgive me. Then in 21st, gotta go a little bit further down to see Mr. Ethan Tavitas. Actually, Brett Thurman finished just ahead of Ethan Tavitas on the last lap. Then Christopher Rines in AM. Moises Caraballo in the fight for the win. It all ended in tears in the pit lane. Matt Hilton and Robert Ridgway does bring it home with a little bit more damage than he would have liked. Sean Mulholland and James Doherty round out the top 10 in AM. Then the rest of the drivers on the lead lap. Alex Wright, Caleb Lehman, David Morse, Laurent Christophe Ruel was the last car on the lead lap. Then Corey Precker, Nicholas Collender, Michael Pabiano, and the used car lot here, drivers with damage. Luke Davis, Rafael Russo, Eric Hogg, Rob Campbell, Colin McKenzie, Ted Lowendick, Miguel Angel Fonseca, and Lance Loomis rounded out the 44 car field as we continue to scroll through. But I do believe we will have some more drivers to talk to in a few moments. But Taylor, while we wait, Guillaume Levesque is going to be very happy, but do you think he's wishing that he could have had a little bit more of a battle with Moises, or is he happy to have that easy win after that penalty?
I mean, you want to have a great battle when you're racing, especially against another competitor who you consider your rival or someone who you know you're going to be battling for a championship with. But it's also good to pick up those free points in a sense by taking home an easy win, as we saw here tonight by Levesque. But of course, for Caraballo, he needs to really make sure no more mistakes happen from here on out if he is to have a shot at the championship. But this one could come back to haunt him.
Well, we've talked to Guillaume Levesque every week so far, but I don't see anybody. I wonder if there's a little bit of an issue with TeamSpeak. That is entirely possible, but I don't know, Taylor. While we wait, what do you want to talk about?
Well, we got a lot to talk about here, and we got, of course, a lot more racing action for the PRL happening later on this week. Of course, tomorrow night you'll be back in action once again with the PRL Truck Series, and we have Formula 3 racing on Thursday, and then, of course, we're back at it on Sunday with the Cup Series, and I gotta say, all these championships have been exciting to watch from start to finish.
They have been. It looks like there is a little bit of trouble with TeamSpeak, unfortunately, but we'll give it a couple minutes or two. If drivers do want to be interviewed, the alternate address is ts.racespot.wtf. Normally it's .tv, but unfortunately there's a little bit of a problem with the .tv. So if you use the .wtf, we might be able to talk to you. We'll give it about 2 more minutes, see if anybody shows up. But Taylor, we are in for a crazy season, and it was a crazy race. If I had to pick one highlight, I think it was just watching Guillaume Levesque play that fuel strategy absolutely perfectly, and that's the telling of a pro, a driver who can be that patient, who can wait and do that for the greater good, even if it means not going for the lead immediately.
It certainly is, and we're going to see how that's going to come about for some of these competitors starting off when we get ready for more racing action here throughout the season. Of course, the next round of the PRL is going to be very critical to watch and see who will be able to come out on top as we progress further into this championship.
As we progress further in this championship, indeed, next week, forgive me, I honestly don't remember where the race is next week. All the schedules have been mixing up in my head. Though there it is. Of course, it's Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. We've raced here in the GT4s earlier this season, and it's very different from Watkins Glen, Taylor, but still a lot of straight lines and a lot of straight line speed will be very important.
It certainly will be very important indeed, and we'll see how these competitors will be able to keep it off the wall of champions. They want to become a champion, just not a champion of that wall here at Montreal next Tuesday night, as we'll see the action back at it once again. But this circuit will definitely test the limits. A lot of high speeds here at that circuit.
All right, I think we are going to call it here. Unfortunately, a few technical issues mean we cannot talk to the drivers this week, but I'm sure that'll be all resolved next week. But thank you to everybody who did tune in tonight. It was a great pair of GT3 races here at Watkins Glen, as it always is here in the Precision Racing League, and I'm sure it will only be just as good next week. So we'll be back. For me, for Taylor Burris, for Tyler Maxson, for the entire Precision Racing League, thank you for tuning in. And until we see you next time, so long.